With red glowing eyes and a ferocious snarl, a massive green-skinned orc raises a heavy wooden club, preparing to strike with devastating force. With a thunderous crash, the knight raises his shield just in time, blocking the massive club's downward smash as dirt and wind swirl around the combatants. Their bizarre appearance strikes fear into the hearts of all who see them. Even the seasoned vanguard struggles under the monster's immense weight, his shield groaning as the beast shrieks in frustration. Now, fire! These are enemies that threaten all living creatures with their ferocious nature. With magic and arrows fully charged, they unleash their attacks. Fire! The combined magical and physical assault strikes the monster dead on, triggering a massive explosion that obliterates the beast in a flash of light and blood. With a heavy thud, the monster's giant arm falls limp onto the dusty ground, signaling the end of the ferocious battle. Whew! Good work, everyone. Is anyone injured? Yes, we're safe now. I did it! My level just went up. Thanks again for today, Marin. Having a reliable vanguard in the party really makes a difference. Hey, wait! Don't tell me you're doing that again! A sharp blade glints in the sunlight as Marin prepares his tools, his focus entirely on the fallen beast's remains. First, drain the blood and simmer the meat slowly with spices to remove any gamey stench. Once tender, slice the finished meat into perfect bite-sized pieces. Ugh, no matter how many times I see it, I can never get used to watching him cook that stuff. We have perfectly normal food, so why do you insist on eating monsters? Well, the world is a big place with all kinds of people. Besides, he really does his best to make it taste delicious. And finally, top it off with a delicate touch of garnish to complete the dish. Behold, orc cream pasta! But no matter how appetizing it looks, I don't think I can ever bring myself to eat it. With anticipation, Marin lifts his visor and takes a large bite of the freshly cooked monster pasta. Marin? Is that actually any good? Yeah, it's great. Want a bite? Absolutely not. Keep that far away from me. But it really is delicious. People in this fantasy world are seriously missing out on how amazing this tastes. The savory juices of the expertly prepared orc meat melt in your mouth, completely free of any foul odor. Combined with rich cream and perfectly cooked noodles, it creates a glorious harmony on the tongue. Truly a masterpiece of pure, delicious fats. Ugh, to think he can eat monster meat with such a blissful expression. Well, Marin is definitely one of a kind. By the way, did you hear the news? They finally found the corpse of that hero who went missing a while back. What? Where did they find him? Deep inside the southern Tyrant forest? Are you serious? I just passed right by that area the other day. He was the most promising new hero around. To think someone that strong could be defeated so easily? Hearing about the fallen hero, Marin falls dead silent, staring down at his half-eaten plate of pasta as a heavy tension fills the air. Just how incredibly powerful of a monster must be lurking in that forest. Knowing him, he's probably just sitting there thinking about how that legendary monster would taste. Hey, Marin, tell us, why on earth did you start eating monsters in the first place? The question lingers in the quiet cave as Marin stares down in contemplative silence, the flickering campfire casting shadows across his helmet. What do you mean the transport carriages have suddenly stopped running? Everything was operating normally just yesterday. I've told you 100 times already. A terrifying red boar has appeared on the road. There's absolutely no way we can travel while that dangerous beast is rampaging on the main highway. If you don't believe me, just look at the horrific state of the carriage that barely made it back yesterday. We're not leaving this town anytime soon, so you'd better look elsewhere. Though, honestly, any other carriage will tell you the exact same thing. With a monster appearing out of nowhere like this, what are we supposed to do? When are we finally going to leave? I was so looking forward to seeing my son after all this time. It looks like it won't be today either. More importantly, what are we going to do about our cargo? Even if we cancel passenger travel, we only have 3 days left before the noble's strict delivery deadline. This is a complete disaster. Out of all people, our client is a noble. If we're late, we're completely ruined. Huh? I don't care about your circumstances. If you're in such a rush, go find another carriage. Hey, look over there. Huh? That person wearing the helmet? He looks a bit shabby, but don't you think he seems incredibly strong? A wise choice indeed. We'll do our best to gather more travelers before we set off at noon, so please wait inside for a bit. Sounds good. I'll wait in the carriage. Shall we start with some brief introductions? I am Maham, a traveling peddler. And you are? Marin Glossite. Something about that guy seems really sketchy. You don't think he's a military deserter, do you? Who cares? As long as he can slay monsters, anyone will do. If you're really that worried, go hire some other mercenaries to join us. Staring up at the carriage ceiling, Marin's thoughts drift back to a dark and haunting memory from his past. Why? Why did this have to happen? The legendary hero, dying so pitifully and without a trace. Deep in the dark woods, a tense and unsettling scratching noise echoes through the trees as a worried traveler looks over his shoulder in fear. A massive bug-like monster looms in the darkness right behind the unsuspecting traveler, casting a terrifying shadow as the scratching sounds grow louder. Deep in the dark, web-filled forest, a terrified traveler gasps in horror as his eyes widen with absolute dread, realizing he is completely trapped. No. A wounded traveler struggles in the dark forest, desperately clutching his blood-soaked arm. I don't want to die. I'm going to make it back alive. I have to get to Adarana. Marin is suddenly startled awake as a fellow traveler taps his shoulder inside the carriage. Mr. Marin. Ah, were you asleep? My apologies. I couldn't tell because of the helmet. It's fine. Did you need something? Marin asks calmly. The mustache traveler replies, no, we were just talking about where everyone is going. Inside the carriage, travelers introduce themselves. I'm going to Helm, one adventurer declares. Another says, we're going all the way to Adarama. They turn to Marin. Mr. Marin, you said you were heading to Adarama as well, right? Where in Adarama? I'm going to see my family at St. Rias Nursery, Marin replies as the carriage rolls through the mountains at sunset. Due to circumstances, I haven't been able to return for quite a long time. The other travelers wonder, a nursery? Was there a nursery in Adarama? To which one responds, it's a huge city, so there must be one somewhere. Inside the carriage, the red-haired adventurer asks, more importantly, you look strong, but what's your level? Level? Marin asks in confusion. The red-haired adventurer summons a glowing blue screen over his hand. It's easier if we know each other's strength. It's a number that lets you easily see your own strength through the window of the mind. By the way, I am a whopping level 23, the adventurer boasts proudly, displaying his glowing blue mind window. He looks at Marin and says, it's impossible for you right now, but if you work hard enough. Marin quietly opens his own window of the mind, revealing a shocking level of 95. The adventurer is so stunned that he loses his balance and falls backward with a look of pure disbelief. There it is, the driver screams in sheer terror, desperately pulling on the horse reins. Looking through the horse's legs, a giant, furious beast charges down the highway at full speed, kicking up a massive cloud of dust as it closes in. It's the red boar, a traveler screams as a monstrous crimson three-eyed wild beast charges forward with razor-sharp teeth and tusks bared. Prepare for combat. Move quickly. The level 23 adventurer shouts as he leaps from the carriage, axe in hand. Lure it away from the carriage before it gets close. Give it up. It's already right in front of us. Another traveler screams in panic. Marin calmly draws his sword and steps forward, murmuring, that's the red boar? It looks a little strange, but Marin says, assessing the threat. Just as the name suggests, it's just a red wild boar. The floating blue system window reveals the monster's details. Red boar, a level 62 monster with 426 attack power and 690 defense. Level 62, Marin notes as the terrifying red beast bellows in fury. It might be just the right opponent for a test. Marin unsheathes his blade with a brilliant flash of light, walking calmly and resolutely toward the charging thread. Marin strides past the terrified level 23 adventurer, who watches in absolute disbelief as the mysterious knight heads straight for the monster. Hey you, what are you doing? The red-haired adventurer screams at the top of his lungs. Do you want to die? The ground shakes as the gargantuan crimson boar closes the distance, its glowing yellow eyes fixed on the lone knight standing in its path. With a lightning-fast motion, Marin draws his blade and delivers a single devastating slash through the air. A fountain of crimson blood sprays across the battlefield as the unstoppable force of Marin's strike splits the giant beast in two. Tense silence falls over the forest road as Marin stands perfectly still, his sword lowered as the remnants of the giant beast fall. The massive carcass of the red boar is cleanly cleaved in two, crashing heavily onto the dirt path behind the victorious knight. Marin looks down at himself in surprise as blood drizzles from above. Wah! The travelers scream in absolute shock and jubilation, looking at the massive, bifurcated remains of the red boar on the road. The valley echoes with the roaring cheers of the travelers, completely stunned by the unbelievable display of power they just witnessed. Marin wonders silently as he looks at his hands, covered in the beast's blood. Did I do that? Marin stares down at the split carcass of the level 62 monster. Even with the level gap, I didn't think one hit would do that much damage. Bro, what the hell? That was crazy, the red-haired adventurer shouts, enthusiastically slapping Marin on the back. You sliced a red boar clean in half with one swing. You sound young from the voice, but you're no joke, the adventurer continues as the others gather around. Are you an elf? A beast man? You sure you're human? Marin stammers, No, I... A loud rumble echoes from Marin's stomach, causing the red-haired adventurer to burst out laughing. Ah ha 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 ha! Yeah, after using that kind of power, you've got to eat. Marin stares at his gloved hand in deep thought, reflecting on his incredible strength as the golden rays of sunset fade into the evening. As night falls over the forest, the travelers set up camp, working together to gather wood and start a campfire for the night. But seriously, who is that Marin guy? One traveler whispers to another. It's weird how he always hides his face. His gear's cheap. Maybe it's some rare skill? Who knows? That old sword might secretly be a legendary treasure, the orange-haired archer jokes. No way. If you're curious, maybe ask him, the mustached traveler replies. She turns and calls out, Hey, Mr. Marin! Mr. Marin? He was standing right here a second ago, the archer mutters. Yeah, where did he go? Her companion replies, before they both scream in utter shock at what they see. What the hell? Did you lose your mind? The travelers scream as Marin calmly walks back into the camp, dragging a massive, bloody half of the red boar behind him. Why the hell are you bringing that thing to the dining area? The archer yells, red-faced with anger. Marin tilts his head in confusion. I thought it'd be better to have meat. To which she bellows, Put it back right now! Denied his monster meat, Marin is served a simple vegetable soup, staring down at his bowl with a wooden spoon in hand. No matter how hungry you are, don't bring monsters to the dining table, the bald traveler grumbles, eating his soup. My appetite's gone now. Hearing this, Marin sighs and lifts his helmet slightly to eat his meal. Marin brings a spoonful of the simple potato and vegetable soup to his mouth, taking a cautious sip. The potatoes melt right into the warm soup, the archer sighs happily. Meanwhile, Marin chokes on the bland food and coughs in disgust, thinking, Is this supposed to taste good? Out here, this counts as a solid meal, the archer snaps, glaring at him. Were you expecting steak on a silver platter or something? What's with that reaction? The archer asks, looking at his dejected figure. No way. Did you really want to eat that thing earlier? Seriously? Aside from it being disgusting, what if it were poisonous? Marin remains dead silent. Look, the basic rule with monster corpses is to remove only the necessary materials and burn the rest as fast as possible, the archer explains as the men work on the carcass in the background. Starving to death is better than eating something like that. Anyway, you're heading to Adorama too, right? The orange-haired archer says, looking back at Marin. It's still far, so even if it doesn't suit your taste, you should eat it. Suddenly, a voice from the camp interrupts them. Oi, archer girl! Help me light this fire here, one of the travelers calls out. Another grumbles in frustration, trying to ignite a torch against the beast. This carcass won't catch fire! As they struggle to burn the remains of the beast, the archer girl confidently steps forward, telling them, Move back, I'll get it going right away. Watching her step in, Marin wonders in confusion behind his helmet. Why ask an archer to light a fire? Holding out her hand, a bright sphere of magic ignites in her palm. With a simple shout of fire, she unleashes a blaze that sets the massive carcass alight. Marin looks on in absolute astonishment. Nearby, a traveler remarks, Whoa, magic really is convenient. Maybe I should learn some while I'm at it. To which another enthusiastically replies, Great idea. It's easy to pick up and super useful. Archer girl looks down at her hands, softly uttering, as she senses Marin's intense gaze. Turning to Marin, the archer asks, Are you from the magic tower? Marin is caught off guard, replying, Huh? Why the magic tower all of a sudden? Most mages come from the magic tower, so, she begins, but Marin quickly interrupts. Mages? What are you talking about? I'm an archer. Confused, she points out, Huh? But you used magic to light that fire. Marin sighs, explaining, even someone who isn't a mage can do something this simple. The archer girl looks baffled, muttering, But learning basic magic takes at least 3 years. Walking past him, she says, Hey, old man, what era are you talking about? Basic magic is standard for adventurers now. Marin stands frozen, shocked. Basic? What? She sighs. Seriously? You've been out of touch. Did you live in the middle of nowhere? Suddenly, she gestures ahead, parting the leaves of a bush as she says, Look over there. Standing at the edge of the cliff overlooking a glowing city, she gestures toward the horizon and asks, See that city's lights? Marin's eyes widen behind his helmet in pure shock. No way, are those all magic stones? They use magic stones instead of lamps? He wonders, staring at a street lamp powered by a glowing blue crystal. The archer replies, You really haven't seen this before? Well, it's still rare in the countryside. Anyway, these days, even kids' toys run on magic, she notes, as a young boy plays happily with a magic-powered toy golem. Looking out over the vast glowing city, Marin thinks back to his childhood. When I was little, we didn't have anything like that. Time really flies. As the campfire crackles, a traveler sits by a crate, smelling the roasting food. The smell of meat. If only it were pork instead of monsters. The other smiles, jokingly asking, "Want to cut a slice and try it?" "Oi, oi, are you trying to kill someone?" the other traveler protests. "We were talking about feasting on meat after work." The merchant laughs, holding up his torch. "Ha, that'd be perfect with a cold beer." Meanwhile, Marin stands in silence as the warmth of the fire rises. In the quiet of the night, a massive, embarrassing rumble echoes from Marin's empty stomach. The next day, they finally reach the city. The carriage driver calls out happily, "Wow, you've been such a great help. Thanks to you catching the red boar, we arrived earlier than planned." Grasping Marin's hand in a warm, firm handshake, the driver expresses his deep appreciation. "I don't know what would have happened without you, Mr. Marin. We're truly grateful." Marin bows his head slightly, his stomach letting out another loud rumble as he replies, "No, thank you for everything." As Marin walks away, the travelers watch him with concern. "Did that guy really not eat a single thing?" one asks. The other reveals he tried to eat something, but he threw up everything forced into his mouth and ended up drinking water. "I thought he was just a picky eater, but maybe it's some kind of illness?" the traveler murmurs, looking worried. "Is that why he never took off his helmet?" His companion panics. "No way! It didn't spread to us, right?" The silent knight stands alone, his mysterious, pristine helmet revealing absolutely nothing of his thoughts or expressions. One of the travelers approaches Marin on the busy street, handing him a heavy sack. "It's nothing much, but this is a token of my gratitude," he says. Marin hesitates, replying, "This wasn't part of the agreement." "No, it's the least I could do," the traveler insists with a warm smile. "Well, until we meet again someday." He waves goodbye, leaving Marin standing on the cobblestone street. Curious, Marin unties the string and peers inside the bag to see what gift he was given. From the perspective inside the sack, Marin stares silently down at the pile of raw potatoes he has received. Disappointed and unable to eat them, Marin simply drops the sack, letting the potatoes spill onto the street as he walks away, leaving a nearby bystander completely bewildered. Taking a deep breath, Marin walks through the city gates, reflecting on his journey. A lot happened, but I'm finally back to my hometown, Eastern Adorama. Somehow, this urbanized landscape feels unfamiliar. Passing by a lively market stall, Marin recognizes a familiar sight. I remember that bakery. It's still bustling. With growing anticipation, Marin makes his way through the streets, thinking, which means after the next corner. Marin visualizes his cherished memory of St. Rheus Nursery, where a kind sister stood warmly outside the church with the young children. But as he rounds the corner, Marin stops dead in his tracks, staring at a brightly decorated toy shop with a confused, "Huh?" Staring at the toys through the shop window, panic begins to set in. What is this? Did I take a wrong turn after all this time? But this should be the right place. This is definitely it. So why is there a toy store I've never seen before? Hearing a noise, the toy shop owner steps out of the door, asking politely, are you looking for something?" Marin spins around, desperately asking the owner, "This was St. Rheus Nursery. Do you know where it went? It was definitely here." The shop owner scratches his chin thoughtfully and responds, "St. Rheus Nursery? Well, I'm the second owner here, but I've never heard of it." Marin is left speechless and shocked. "Second owner? But it was definitely here," Marin protests. The owner sighs. "Even if you say that, I've never heard of—" Suddenly, an old man sitting nearby calls out, "Hey, you over there. Are you looking for St. Rheus Nursery?" Marin turns quickly, gasping, "Yes, do you know about it?" The old man leans on his cane and says, "I haven't seen it myself, but I heard about it long ago, that a place like that existed long ago." "Long ago? What do you mean?" Marin asks, his heart sinking. The old man narrows his eyes, continuing, "But I remember hearing that—" The words strike Marin like a lightning bolt, filling him with dread. "It burned down?" A terrifying image of a dragon's glowing red eye flashes in his mind, surrounded by destructive, blazing flames. During an attack by a dragon, the narration reveals, showing a massive golden dragon breathing destructive fire over the burning ruins of the nursery as a helpless knight looks on. A dark and heavy silence falls over the scene as Macron processes the devastating news of his hometown's tragic past. The scene shifts to a deep, dark blue ocean where a young man in a suit is sinking into the abyss amidst floating debris. It was an unremarkable life, the narration reflects. Sinking deeper towards a mysterious, bright light, the thoughts continue. Dull, colorless, with no real dreams or memories worth holding on to. Floating in the vast, empty darkness of the water, the soul remembers one final thing: the warmth of a dinner table, surrounded by the family who had gone before me. Suddenly, a simple wooden toy fish dangling from a mobile catches his attention, prompting a confused thought. Fish? Looking up at the wooden mobile, the memories begin to blur. Right, I drowned. But why is it so bright? Huh? A ceiling? Ha! He's awake! Two young, wide-eyed children exclaim in surprise, peeking over the wooden rails of the crib at the newborn baby. The two young children stare in amazement over the wooden crib, crying out with excitement. Sister, the baby is awake! Looking up at his tiny hands, the newborn baby is filled with confusion, thinking, what is going on? I was definitely in an accident. A kind, elderly nun wearing glasses and a warm smile opens her arms to greet the child, welcoming him, "Welcome to St. Rias Nursery." As she gently lifts him up toward the bright window, she reassures him, "From today on, you're part of our family." Staring at the modest wooden church of the nursery, the boy reflects on his new life. It was the warmth of family I thought I'd never feel again. Years later, a heavy bag of coins is dropped onto a wooden desk as a voice says, "This is this month's donation." Standing before the desk, Marin, now a young knight in pristine armor, explains, "I just want the children to eat something tasty," while the elderly nun, coughing weakly, replies, "I told you, you don't need to keep doing this." Looking at him with deep concern, the nun sighs and asks, "But more importantly, you just got back and you're leaving again already? Aren't you pushing yourself too hard lately?" Marin gently answers, "It's nothing really." Smiling beneath his helmet, Marin explains, "It's an easy job this time, just clearing out a goblin horde to the south." The nun worries, saying, "You're barely ever here, so I can't help but worry." "Is that so? If you say so, then I suppose it's fine." As Marin turns to open the wooden door to leave, the nun stops him, saying, "Then promise me one thing before you go." Marin stops and asks, "A promise?" Looking back over his shoulder, he listens as she requests, "Come back home before it gets too late. I'll bake your favorite berry pie." Smiling warmly beneath his visor, Miran responds, "Yes, I promise." In a rainy graveyard, a young nun approaches Marin as he kneels before a memorial plaque on a large tree. She gently explains, "Is this the person you were looking for? Most of the buildings were reconstructed after the dragon's attack, but sadly, there were no survivors from the nursery. The temple has taken over its role now." Looking down at the kneeling knight, the nun softly asks, "No one has visited this grave in a long time. May I ask how you're related?" Stunned, Marin can only mutter, "Ah." Respecting his silence, the nun walks away, leaving him alone by the tree. "My apologies. Well then," she murmurs as she departs. His gloved hand trembling, Marin reaches out to touch the stone plaque on the tree, his heart breaking. "You said you'd be back soon. You promised. You said there was nothing to worry about." Raindrops patter against Marin's cold steel helmet as a painful thought crosses his mind. What if? Horrifying memory of a colossal gold dragon breathing fire flashes before him, prompting the despairing thought, if only I had been there, would things have been different? Overcome with grief and regret, the knight kneels in the pouring rain, pressing his forehead against the memorial tree as the storm rages around him. Looking up through the green leaves of the tree as the rain continues to fall, Marin realizes with deep sorrow, it's something I'll never know, forever. The stone memorial plaque attached to the twisted tree trunk stands silent as the cold rain washes over its engraved grape design. Watching him from a distance, two nuns whisper to each other in concern. "Hey, is that person from before still over there?" "Ah, yes, it's been a few days now. I'm worried he might get sick." "Ah, he must be in so much pain." Under a bleak gray sky, the knight sits motionless on his knees in the grass, his head hung low in absolute desolation. On the wet grass beside his shield, a simple, half-eaten loaf of dry bread wrapped in a white cloth sits untouched. A nun walks away with a somber expression, leaving the silent knight sitting alone next to his discarded shield and food. His gloved hand slowly reaches down, gripping the dirty, cold loaf of bread from the grass. Raising the dry bread to the visor of his helmet, the starving knight desperately takes a bite. Inside his helmet, Marin chews on the bland food, his expression unseen but his posture stiff with discomfort. Dropping the half-eaten loaf back onto the wet grass, he mutters in disgust, "It's disgusting." Clutching his stomach in agony, Marin reflects on his curse. "I can't eat anything. Everything tastes so foul I just spit it back out. Yet everyone else can eat it just fine, meaning there's something wrong with me." Staring down at the discarded bread on the dark, shadowy ground, he thinks, "I can't even satisfy my hunger." Sinking deeper into despair, Marin's thoughts grow darker. "I lost my family again, and I'm alone again. What's the point of living such a miserable life? Just as he prepares to give up, a faint, glowing golden mist drifts through the air, catching his attention as he wonders, what is that smell? Sniffing the warm air, a spark of hope ignites in Marin's mind. Meat? No, richer. Unlike all that tasteless food, this is so much richer. Drooling uncontrollably beneath his visor, Marin gets to his feet and follows the enticing scent out of the graveyard and toward a trail of dark smoke in the town. Peeking around the corner of a wooden alleyway, he overhears two men stoking a bright fire. Stoke the fire, make it burn hotter. If it's this weak, nothing's gonna burn properly. You know we'll get fined if they catch us burning monster corpses inside the castle walls, right? Standing over the flaming pit, the men argue. Smells good though, doesn't it? Why are you so nervous? Because you can't tell this apart from meat, idiot. What if someone actually eats it and dies without knowing it's monster flesh? It's not like this monster is poisonous, it'll be fine. A dark, imposing silhouette of Marin's helmet stands in the shadows as he stares intently at the source of the delicious smell. The man stoking the fire scoffs at his companion. If you're that worried, then go dump it all outside the castle yourself, as a pile of horned rabbit monster carcasses sits in a cart nearby. Looking down at the burning monster carcasses, Marin's instincts completely take over as he mutters, "Looks delicious." A worker turns around to find the monster corpses gone, gasping in confusion. Huh? Did we already burn this much? While Marin runs away into the foggy alley with his prize. Back at the graveyard, Marin sits beneath the memorial tree, preparing to cut into the stolen carcass with his dagger. Holding a piece of the charred, raw monster leg in his hand, his mouth salivates with overwhelming hunger. Unable to resist any longer, Marin tears a massive chunk of the roasted monster flesh away with his teeth. His eyes widen in complete shock and ecstasy as he bites down, crying out, "Ugh, it's delicious!" before ravenously devouring the meat. Chewing eagerly, he savors the taste of the monster flesh, slightly charred, savory. Trembling with delight, he thinks, rich juices bursting between my teeth? It puts all those meals I couldn't even swallow to shame. Blood and juices splatter against a dark crimson background as his monstrous appetite takes over. A taste that stirs my instincts every time it slides down my throat. Suddenly snapping out of his frenzy, Marin stares in horror at his blood-stained hand, trembling as the realization of what he has just eaten hits him. Collapsing onto the cold stone path of the graveyard, the shattered knight weeps in shame, his soft sobs echoing in the quiet night as he groans, "Ugh," sob. Marin weeps silently inside his cold steel helmet, his tears dripping down. He whispers in despair, "I'm sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry." Remembering his lost loved ones walking toward a bright, warm light, Marin's heart breaks as he thinks, "I'm sorry that I'm the only one who survived." Kneeling on the ground before the brilliant, blinding light, the knight cries out from the depths of his soul, "Even so, I want to live." Staring at the monster carcass bone on the floor, Marin clenches his blood-stained fist and resolves, "I want to live like a human being. I want to eat more delicious things." Tears streaming down beneath his visor, Marin wonders in deep sorrow, I want to live happily. Is it really okay for me to want that? A tense silence falls over the quiet graveyard as the bright morning sun shines through the leaves of the colossal memorial tree, illuminating Marin kneeling on the path next to his shield and dagger. Feeling a gentle presence, the grieving knight lowers his head as a single green leaf from the memorial tree drifts down onto his helmet. A warm, mystical light envelops his hand as a faint, glowing spiritual hand gently reaches down to touch Marin's trembling, blood-stained fingers. Startled by the sudden, warm touch, Marin gasps in complete shock as his eyes widen behind his visor. The glowing spiritual hand fades away, leaving behind a vibrant green leaf resting gently upon Marin's hand as a symbol of hope and comfort. Kneeling quietly on the stone path, the knight gazes up at the plaque on the massive trunk of the memorial tree under the warm morning sun. Inside his helmet, Marin's dry, dirty lips part slightly as he takes a deep breath and gathers his resolve. With a determined look on his face, the young knight firmly shuts his mouth, ready to face whatever struggles lie ahead. A single, crystal-clear droplet of dew slips off a vibrant green leaf, glistening beautifully in the bright daylight. Slinging a simple travel pouch over his shoulder and strapping his red and white shield to his back, the knight prepares to depart from the graveyard. Looking back at the memorial tree under the bright blue sky, Marin says softly, "It's time for me to go." Standing before the towering, twisted memorial tree, he promises, "I won't be late coming back this time." Taking a firm first step, the traveler's brown leather boot lands with a solid click on the stone-paved street of the city. Walking toward a grand white tower standing tall under the clear blue sky, the knight reflects, was the beginning of my secret gourmet life. Standing proudly at the center of the bustling city square is the Grand Tower of the Adventurers Guild, Hexalum. Inside the lively, high-ceilinged lobby, adventurers of all kinds gather. As the narration explains, all adventurers begin at Hexalum, a universally recognized institution specializing in adventurers. A young adventurer looks up at the large bulletin board filled with posted flyers. As the narration continues, handling all requests from dungeon exploration to subjugation. A blonde adventurer hands over a heavy bag of coins to a feline beastman clerk behind a wooden counter, as the narrator concludes, and systematically managing and operating registered adventurers. A mechanical testing dummy with glowing eyes and the number 1015 registered on its chest is struck with a powerful punch, prompting the tester to shout, "Pass, next." Another hopeful challenger delivers a punch to the dummy but fails to reach the required score, as the tester yells, "Fail, next," while a crowd of adventurers watches from behind. With a sudden burst of incredible speed, a white-haired elf wearing a green hood lunges forward and delivers a devastating blow to the testing dummy, sending a shockwave of wind through the courtyard. As the wind sweeps past, the elf's green hood slides back, revealing long white hair and sharp, graceful elven ears. The dummy's display screen flashes with a massive score of 5312 as the tester exclaims in shock, "5312, pass! A new record for today's test score," while the elf stands with a confident smirk. Watching the elf walk away, the astonished crowd whispers in disbelief. "Did you see that elf? First place in today's test. Amazing! That huge warrior earlier barely passed 3,000. The elf glances back slightly as the onlookers continue to wonder, where'd a rookie like that even come from? A brown-haired adventurer walks up and places a friendly hand on the elf's shoulder, calling out, "Yo, congrats on first place. Archer Elf, if you don't have a team yet, want to team up with me? I might not look it, but I used to be pretty famous back in the day." His expression turning to absolute annoyance and disgust, the elf glares at the man and forcefully shoves him away, snapping, "Don't touch me so casually." Marin, wearing his helmet and brown tunic, nervously scratches the back of his neck and apologizes, saying, "Sorry." Tiny mouse beastman clerk wearing glasses and holding a clipboard angrily yells at him, "Baron, why didn't you take the test?" While Marin can only mutter, sorry." Walking past him, the elf sighs in exasperation and says, "Your reading so frustrating. How are you supposed to pass the test like that?" Prompting Marin to quickly reply, "Yes, of course I can." Hearing his reply, the white-haired elf stops and turns back with a surprisingly gentle and warm smile. Gently patting Marin's shoulder to reassure him, the elf tells him, "You can relax, you know." Smiling warmly at the nervous knight, the elf explains, "If you're tense, you won't perform your best." To which Marin replies in confusion, "Thank you?" Giving a playful wink and a peace sign, the elf cheers him up, saying, "You're welcome. We compatriots have to help each other out." Staring blankly as the elf walks away, Marin mutters in confusion, "Compatriots?" Behind the wooden counter of the guild lobby, a cheerful elf receptionist with a floral headscarf greets the visitor with a bright smile. Welcome. We've been expecting you," as the label introduces her as guild receptionist Daisy. Dahlia walks up to the counter as Daisy excitedly says, "Dahlia, I heard you got first place in today's guild test. Word's already spreading." To which Dahlia confidently waves a hand and replies, "This much is nothing." Daisy proudly presents a parchment document stamped with a large letter D, announcing, "Congratulations. With this, Lady Dahlia is now officially a Hexarim-affiliated adventurer." Gaping in absolute shock and disbelief at the paper, Dahlia stammers, "Wait, D rank? I got first place in the test? Is there some mistake?" As Daisy sweat drops and explains, "No, all guild adventurers start from D rank." Daisy explains the guild policies. By regulation, ranks above D require completed request records, but with Lady Dahlia's skills, you'll rank up in no time. Still eager to get started, Dahlia requests, "Then let's get started right away. I'd like a request I can take immediately." Daisy smiles and points to the board. The D rank requests currently available are... there are two perfect ones." Daisy displays two Quent flyers, one for a level 15 regular subjugation request, Gargoyle Manor, and another for Gremlin Eyeball Procurement. Rubbing her head in exhaustion, Dahlia sighs, "I'll take both then." Looking up from the paperwork with a surprised and slightly worried expression, Daisy mentions, "But right now, these requests only accept parties." An eerie, dark castle flanked by menacing gargoyle statues looms under a swirling green sky as Daisy's voice narrates, "Gargoyle Manor. This dungeon hasn't been cleared by adventurers in a long time. Therefore, the monster population inside has drastically increased." Dahlia begins to ask, "Excuse me, but could I just go a lot?" when a massive explosion of dust, debris, and shattered wood suddenly bursts behind her, cutting her off. Dahlia turns her head in absolute shock and alarm as a huge force sends wreckage flying past her through the thick cloud of dust. A sudden, powerful explosion rips through the guild, scattering wooden debris and dust everywhere. From inside the cloud of smoke, concerned voices cry out, "Hey, is everyone okay? Anyone hurt?" Coughing in the thick dust, Dahlia rubs his head while a female receptionist rushes over to check on him. "Are you okay?" Dahlia groans. "I'm fine, but more importantly..." Dahlia stares in disbelief at the shattered remains of the testing dummy. What the hell just happened? An onlooker explains, "Who knows? The test golem suddenly broke through the wall and flew over. That golem weighs as much as a bull. Who could..." Dahlia turns his head in realization, gasping, "Ah!" as he figures out who is responsible. In the guild lobby, Marin stands bowing deeply before the receptionist, Daisy, who reassures him, "You don't need to apologize that much. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and you didn't cheat on the test." Pointing to the massive cloth-covered hole in the exterior wall, an adventurer sweat drops. "More importantly, I've worked here for a long time, but I've never seen anything like this." Marin bows further, stammering, "I am truly sorry." Daisy begins writing down a bill. "As long as you pay for the damages, there's no problem. The exterior wall repairs, broken furniture and equipment, the golem's cost, and damages from business interruption combined." With a bright, cheerful smile, Daisy presents a long bill, 2 gold and 30 silver. Pay this much and there won't be any issues. Marin opens his travel pouch only for a few tiny crumbs of dirt to fall into his hand, leaving him completely speechless. Trembling beneath his helmet, Marin nervously asks, "By the way, what's the deadline?" To which Daisy casually responds, "You can pay whenever it's convenient for you." Daisy's cheerful face suddenly shifts into a menacing dark shadow as she adds, "Of course, if you take too long, the guild will sue you though." Sweating profusely, Marin quickly promises, "I'll pay it back as soon as possible." Daisy rests her hand on the counter, encouraging him. "But now you're officially an adventurer, so just work hard on requests and pay it back. Though the only requests available right now require parties." Suddenly, Dahlia appears right beside Marin and offers, "How about teaming up with me? I was just looking for a party for a request too," leaving the young knight startled and confused. Winking playfully, Dahlia smiles warmly. "Times like these, we've got to help each other out. We're compatriots after all. We're compatriots after all." Marin's sweat drops inside his helmet, thinking to himself, "That elf who talked to me earlier, what's he suddenly want?" as he activates his appraisal skill. Dahlia's stats screen appears, showing Dahlia, level 36, race, elf, class, archer, strength 42, intelligence 39, agility 49, luck 36, title, spirit user. Dahlia points at the request board as Marin keeps analyzing, "Why does this person want to team up with me? I don't get why he's being so friendly. All his stats are high too, which makes it even harder to understand." Dahlia explains, "We're heading to the same area, so we can each handle one request." Turning to Daisy, Marin asks, "Is it okay if we go together like this?" Daisy responds enthusiastically, "Of course, your classes work perfectly together too." Daisy gestures happily to both D-rank requests on her desk. A warrior and an archer. It's an ideal combination. Extending his hand toward the silent knight, Dahlia says, "Oh right, we haven't even introduced ourselves yet." Marin remains cautious, wondering, this party was formed on a whim, but will it be okay? Smiling warmly, Dahlia reaches out. "So you're Marin. Nice to meet you." Marin hesitates to take his hand, reflecting on his desperate financial situation. "Honestly, I'm not thrilled about this, but I need to resolve this situation quickly." Resolving to do what must be done, Marin firmly shakes Dahlia's hand, saying, "Just call me Marin." Dahlia beams with a bright, friendly smile. "This is our first request, so let's do our best together." Marin contemplates behind his visor. "I wanted to avoid parties if possible, but he seems capable, and we can each handle our own requests. There's not that much I need to worry about." Daisy stamps the registration document as they finalize their handshake, declaring, "Request acceptance and party registration for 2 complete, Elf Archer Dahlia and Human Warrior Marin Glace." As they release their hands, Marin feels a sudden chill as Dahlia's friendly expression completely vanishes. Dahlia asks coldly, "You're human, right?" Dahlia's face turns dark and menacing, his glowing blue eyes glaring with absolute contempt as he demands, "Are you human?" Sometime later, Marin stands in a lush green forest, carefully studying a map in his hands and whispering, "This is..." Standing before a dark, vines-draped cavern entrance marked with a wooden warning sign, Marin reads, "The Gargoyle Dungeon's entrance." Walking up behind him, Dahlia snaps with annoyance. What the hell are you doing in front of the entrance? Dahlia pushes past Marin and leads the way into the gloomy cavern, grumbling bitterly in his head. Damn it, to be in a party with a human, why did I have to team up with such a vulgar species? Remembering the history of his kind, Dahlia reflects, elves, tall, beautiful, long-lived? I know they were enslaved before because of that, so no wonder they have a messed up history with humans. The guild receptionist didn't act like this at all, though. Marin gasps in surprise as a swirling vortex of purple and pink magical energy wraps around him as they cross the threshold of the dungeon. Walking out of the portal, they find themselves standing on a cobblestone path leading to a massive, dark Gothic cathedral under a swirling purple sky. Marin looks around the eerie graveyard path in amazement, saying, no wonder they call this place a mansion. It looks like a completely different world from outside. Staring up at the swarms of small flying creatures surrounding the Gothic building, Marin wonders, is that our target this time? Before activating his appraisal. The monster info card displays Gremlin Monster, level 18, attack power 80, defense 52. A swarm of hideous, stone-skinned bat-like creatures with pink eyes and large fangs hover nearby as the description reads, a lower-level gargoyle. As it grows, its body becomes sturdier and larger. Marin watches the countless gargoyles circling in the purple sky, thinking they're swarming everywhere, it's disgusting. Dahlia turns around and glares at Marin, warning him coldly. Oi, human, get out of the way so you don't interfere with the request. And don't talk to me, just do it yourself. I'll catch your short-lived racist stupidity. Marin silently walks past him, leaving Dahlia bewildered. Huh? Infuriated, Dahlia shouts at the knight's back. Oi, don't ignore me. Marin replies indifferently, you just told me to leave. Stamping his foot, Dahlia yells, that doesn't mean you can ignore me and be rude. Is basic manners too hard for your short-lived race? Marin stops and retorts, what the hell are you going on about? I'm over 100 years old. Don't call me short-lived. Dahlia's eyes widen in sheer shock. What are you talking about? Turning away, Marin replies, anyway, just like you said. Marin drops his heavy pack to the floor and draws his sword. Let's not get in each other's way while we do our quests. Dahlia gasps in surprise. Wait, you're going in alone? At least prepare first. Looking back calmly, Marin says, the gremlins are only level 18. At our level, we don't need prep, do we? Sweating in sheer panic, Dahlia thinks to himself, this guy, did he see my stats? If he can appraise that easily, is he actually stronger than me? Wait, hold on. Pointing an accusing finger at Marin, Dahlia snaps furiously, did you actually sneak a peek at my info? You despicable human, how dare you? As a gremlin suddenly swoops down toward him from behind. Dahlia continues his angry tirade, completely oblivious to the approaching threat. I knew humans were disgusting and lowborn, but stealing someone's info without permission? That's basic manners. The vicious gremlin opens its massive fanged mouth, lunging directly at the back of Dahlia's head as Dahlia screams, you shameless! With blinding speed, a silver blade flashes inches away from Dahlia's face as Marin quietly murmurs, keeping your voice down in the dungeon. Gremlin is sliced cleanly in two, spraying green blood into the air as Marin calmly finishes, is basic etiquette, right? Dahlia winces in disgust as the slimy green monster blood splatters across his face. Ugh. Shaking the green blood off his sword blade, Marin admits, yeah, I checked your info when we greeted each other at the guild earlier, prompting Dahlia to gasp, I knew it. Marin continues, if you hate being with me that much. Looking over his shoulder with his hand resting on his sword hilt, Marin responds indifferently, then let's just finish this quickly and be done, got it? Trembling with annoyance, Dahlia glares back and warns him, don't hold me back. Pointing accusingly at Marin's back, Dahlia snaps furiously, who's holding who back? Human, you're the one who should do your job properly. As a gargoyle watches them from above, Dahlia shouts down at Marin, I'll handle the gargoyle, you go catch a gremlin or something, while Marin calmly walks away, muttering, do whatever you want. With ease, Marin grabs a flying gremlin by its head and slams it forcefully into the ground, racking up his 49th kill. After defeating the 50th gremlin, Marin claps his hands together and says, perfect timing, this many eyeballs should be enough. Marin turns his head back toward the cathedral ruins, observing, but over there. The appraisal system displays the gargoyle's stats. Gargoyle, monster level 21, a higher form of gremlin, an advanced gremlin species. Its entire body is hardened stone. Meanwhile, Dahlia is heavily cornered by several gargoyles, panting in exhaustion. Desperate, Dahlia swings his bow at an oncoming gargoyle with a loud battle cry. Ha! Watching the dust cloud from Dahlia's struggle in the distance, Marin indifferently tells himself, well, he probably won't die if I leave him alone. Turning his attention back to his own needs, Marin stands before his cooking utensils and contemplates, guess I'll grab something to eat, but how do I even cook this? Crouching over a wooden chopping board, Marin begins prepping the dead gremlin. It kind of looks like a frog, so I'll try preparing it the same way. Marin neatly chops the slimy gremlin into raw chunks of meat and slimy green innards on the cutting board. Marin carefully slides a piece of the gremlin meat onto a wooden skewer, thinking, there isn't much meat, so I'll make a small batch and turn it into skewers. After slicing up the long tubular intestines, Marin cooks the skewers over a bright campfire, musing, just skewering the meat is boring, so I'll grill the innards too. Maybe the innards taste good, like with beef or pork, and if I grill them properly, a beautifully grilled gremlin skewer is presented, looking glistening, caramelized, and surprisingly delicious. Lifting his visor slightly, Marin looks at the skewer and says, "Oh, not bad for a first try, huh? Now for the taste." Marin takes a savory bite of the freshly grilled gremlin skewer. Instantly, a text bubble erupts with overwhelming praise. Delicious! Chewing happily with a bright, satisfied aura, Marin exclaims, monsters really are tasty. Imagining a chicken and a duck behind him, Marin analyzes the flavor. If I had to compare it, maybe it's closer to duck than chicken, slightly spicy with a bit of gamey flavor. Just as Marin thinks to himself, it'd be even better with sauce, the background suddenly distorts and turns purple. A wave of intense dizziness hits Marin, causing him to clutch his helmet and stagger as the world spins around him. A blue system window pops up with the warning, poison, small inflicted. Marin collapses onto the stone floor as another system notification appears. You have been poisoned. Slurping saliva in pain, Marin panics on the ground, thinking, what is this? Poison? My body, I can't move. Trembling in agony on the stone path, Marin realizes, so that tingling taste was from the poison. What should I do without an antidote? Salivating heavily, Marin desperately reaches out toward the raw gremlin remains, reasoning, wait, antidote? Gremlins don't use poison as an attack. If their bodies are poisonous, that must mean they neutralize their own poison. Marin raises a large, slimy green organ in his hand and resolves, the liver should neutralize the poison. With a dramatic swallow, Marin shoves the raw gremlin liver into his mouth under his helmet, crying out, it's a gamble! Lying flat on his back, panting steam into the cold air, Marin gasps in relief. I survived. Sitting up on the cobblestone pavement, Marin wipes his brow and sighs, phew, I really thought I was done for. Holding his chin, Marin contemplates, so it's not just because they're gross. That's why people don't eat monsters? I really need to study antidotes from now on. While Dahlia suddenly walks up and gasps in sheer shock. Staring at the scene with a pale, horrified expression, Dahlia screams, what are you doing? The view shows Dahlia looking down in absolute disbelief at the gruesome sight of Marin's campfire, butchered gremlin parts, and cooking tools. Dahlia facepalms in deep psychological trauma, groaning, I knew humans were barbaric, but Dahlia points accusingly and yells, I never imagined it was this bad. How could you eat that in your right mind? While Marin raises a hand to try to calm him down, saying, hold on. Marin defends his culinary choices, saying, I know elves are vegetarians, but that doesn't mean you get to insult people who eat meat. Dahlia's chibi head barks back furiously from below. Human, do you really think this is just a cultural difference? Clutching his head in deep despair, Dahlia laments, to think I teamed up with a human for this, to witness such a nightmare. I want to go back to the world tree right now. While Marin looks on with confusion. Pointing a finger, Dahlia demands, anyway, you finished your quest for the gremlin eyeballs, right? If you're done with the hunt, then why are you still here? Marin squat walks over to gather his gear and explains, we accepted the request on the condition that we formed a two-man party. If we split up and something happens, who's responsible? It won't just be us. We'll drag the guild receptionist into trouble too, recalling Daisy's happy face. Dahlia stammers, that's my problem. But Marin gets up and offers, it looks like you're still short on your quota. I'll help you hunt the gargoyles. You want to finish this party as soon as possible too, right? Dahlia turns away and grumbles, I don't need a human's. But Marin draws his sword and tells him, it'll be over quickly, so just wait. Dahlia blinks in confusion. Sweat dropping? What is that? Marin holds his sword in one hand and raises a frying pan in the other, saying, I forgot to mention. Holding both high, Marin reveals, I used to be a shielder. He clashes them together, activating the taunt skill, which emits a loud noise and a bright pink shockwave to attract surrounding monsters. Nearby gremlins and gargoyles pause, their glowing red eyes instantly fixing on the source of the loud clanging noise. Marin continuously beats the pan with his sword, while a sweating, utterly dumbfounded Dahlia shouts, what are you doing all of a sudden? What does banging on a pot have to do with being a shielder? Dahlia looks up in absolute terror as a massive thudding noise echoes from above, stammering, don't tell me. The narrative introduces the most iconic skill among shielders, the taunt. A bright golden emblem of a shield crossed by two swords appears, representing the widely recognized skill of taunt. This powerful skill is used to draw the attention of nearby monsters, allowing the user to protect their party members. As a swarm of gremlins and gargoyles swoops down from the ruined cathedral, Dahlia runs for his life, screaming in panic, "You crazy human!" While normally used to defend teammates, the taunt skill also works incredibly well for luring flying monsters down to the ground. A horde of vicious gargoyles and gremlins with glowing red eyes lunges forward, prompting the question of whether the skill was always this powerful. Marin casually tosses his frying pan aside, indifferently deciding that whatever happens next is not his problem. Marin readies his blade as his active combat skills are displayed: Swordsmanship A, which increases damage in proportion to rank when using bladed weapons, and Martial Arts B, a continuous buff that boosts agility in close quarters combat. With terrifying screeches, the flying monsters swoop down to attack their target. Gripping his sword with absolute resolve, Marin prepares to face the oncoming horde. Watching the chaos unfold from a distance, Dahlia readies his bow and grumbles, "Damn it, what a disaster, all because of that human. I'll keep my distance and support him from the back for now." Dahlia's eyes widen in absolute shock as he witnesses what happens next. With blinding speed, Marin unleashes a massive sweeping sword strike that slices through multiple flying monsters at once, sending green blood splattering through the air. Staring in disbelief as monster parts rain down, Dahlia can only mutter, "Ugh, you've got to be kidding me." Looking at the absolute carnage, Dahlia realizes the vast gap in their strength, thinking, "I struggled to hunt even 5 gargoyles by myself." As Marin stands calmly amidst the defeated monsters, surrounded by a faint blue aura, Dahlia wonders in awe, just who is this guy? After completing their hunt, the two make their way back, when Dahlia suddenly stops in his tracks, prompted by a strange sound. Walking through the forest, Dahlia asks, "Are you really okay with this? There's no need to cancel the party request, even though you basically hunted everything yourself." Marin replies over his shoulder, "Besides, didn't you say you wanted to get this over with quickly?" leaving Dahlia momentarily speechless. Dahlia falls silent, looking down as he ponders Marin's unexpected cooperativeness. Suddenly, Dahlia's long elf ear twitches sharply as it picks up a distant noise. Halting their march, Dahlia alerts Marin, whispering, "Wait, did you hear that?" Looking back at his companion, Marin observes, "Hold on, I'm surprised. I didn't know elf ears could move like that." Dahlia stares back at him with a sweat drop, utterly exasperated by Marin's focus on trivial details. Dahlia quickly dashes off towards the source of the noise, while Marin wonders, what is it now? Dahlia stands at the edge of a cliff, peering down into a clearing where a carriage has stopped along the path. Down below, a furious traveler yells at his companion, "You idiot! You couldn't even dodge a deer, and it wasn't even a monster? We have to reach the black market by tomorrow, and the carcass just had to get stuck in the wheels." To Dahlia's horror, one of the men violently kicks a young chained elf to the ground, shouting, "Get moving already! If we don't leave now, we'll be late, you damn slave!" Crying in pain and terror, the young elf slave begs, "I'm sorry, please don't hit me." Clenching his teeth in pure rage, Dahlia mutters, "Look, Marin Glack, that is why I despise humans." Dahlia's anger boils over as he gestures toward the scene, shouting, "You preach about abolishing slavery, but behind the scenes you're still trafficking other races." Readying himself to intervene, Dahlia demands, "Draw your weapon, Marin Glack. We must make them pay." But Marin calmly responds, "Why should I?" Stunned by the heartless response, Dahlia stammers, "What?" Marin pragmatically points out, "What makes you so sure that elf is an illegal slave? They could be a criminal or paying off a debt, couldn't they?" Gesturing furiously, Dahlia counters, "I heard them clearly. They said they're taking them to the black market." But Marin turns away and says, "Then go and report it to the guards. I don't want to waste my time on something that isn't a request." Feeling deeply betrayed, Dahlia glares at his partner and spits out, "I thought you might be different, but you're just like the rest." Dahlia grips his bow tightly and resolves, "Fine, I'll do it myself." As Dahlia prepares his attack, Marin stands quietly, his helmet tilting as he catches a subtle sound coming from the carriage. Down below, the traveler continues to bark orders at the chained elf trying to clear the deer carcass from the carriage wheels. Inside the dark carriage, a young elf mother holds her sobbing daughter close, whispering, "Mommy, I'm scared." And, "Shh, Mommy's right here, it's okay. Be a good girl," as Marin listens intently. Standing on the cliff edge with his bow drawn, Dahlia hesitates for a split second, asking himself, "Can I really do this alone?" Stealing his resolve, Dahlia reminds himself, "No, I trained for moments like this. I have to do it." With absolute focus, Dahlia draws his arrow back to its absolute limit. Aiming directly at the abusers below, Dahlia shouts, "I will end it!" Dahlia releases the arrow, but his eyes widen in sudden confusion as a projectile suddenly cuts ahead of his shot. A massive shockwave erupts right beside the carriage, kicking up a thick cloud of dust and sending the terrified traffickers scrambling for cover. As the dust settles, the coughing men look in shock at the glowing weapon embedded deep into the ground. A sword? Looking up beside him, Dahlia is stunned to see Marin standing there, prompting him to ask, I thought you weren't going to help." Remembering the kind orphanage sister who raised him, Marin watches the scene and thinks to himself, "I don't care about adult affairs, but a child has no sin." Down below, the panicked traffickers shout in confusion. "What the hell is this? A sword just came flying out of nowhere." As their leader warns them, "You idiots, look up." Standing heroically atop the rocky cliff edge, Marin and Dahlia look down at the slave traffickers in the canyon below. A heavy boot lands with a thud, kicking up a cloud of dust and prompting the startled trafficker to yell, "Who are you?" Sweating in panic, the trafficker barks angrily at the intruders, shouting, "You think you can get away with this?" His anger boiling over, Dahlia points accusingly at the traffickers and fires back, "You filthy humans, acting all high and mighty. I came because I know my captured comrades are in that carriage." The traffickers mockingly dismiss his outrage, explaining that they are officially licensed slave traders under House Beshtal, and that everyone in their custody is a legal slave. Dahlia's anger falters for a moment, sweat dropping as he repeats in confusion, "The house of Marquis Beshtal?" Proudly gesturing to the banner on the carriage, the trafficker demands, "Look, the Beshtal crest displayed proudly right there. Apologize to Beshtal and pay for the damages, or you won't walk away from this." As the trafficker continues to grumble about forest elves always causing trouble, Dahlia's eyes glow with absolute pure rage as he snarls, "What did you just say?" Looking closely from behind his visor, Marin quietly observes, "That's weird." Marin steps forward and points out that the symbol displayed on the carriage banner is not the actual Beshtal crest, leaving the traffickers and Dahlia completely stunned. The trafficker points and shouts back in frantic denial, "Who's this guy next to you? Stop spouting nonsense. The wolf, the symbol of the Beshtal Marquis family, is right there." Marin calmly points out that the wolf's eyes on their banner look completely normal. Marin explains the history of the noble house, revealing that Beshtal's ancestor only had one eye, a feature always reflected in the authentic crest. Since their banner has both eyes drawn, it is undeniably a fake. Realizing their deception has been completely exposed, the leader of the slave traders breaks into a cold sweat. Tense, uneasy silence falls over the scene as the two leading traffickers exchange a panicked look, realizing they've been caught red-handed. Toying with his helmet visor, Marin casually notes that the punishment for impersonating nobility is extremely severe. Panicking, the leader of the traffickers yells for his mercenary guards to attack, screaming, "Kill them! There are only two of them anyway!" As a heavily armed guard slashes his sword down, Marin laments that in the old days it was considered proper etiquette for mercenaries to avoid fighting each other. Dodging the strike with effortless grace, Marin adds, "But I guess that's changed these days." Marin delivers a brutal, bone-shattering blow directly to the guard's face, sending him flying backward with blood splattering as he groans in pain. The remaining guard watches in absolute horror as his massive comrade is sent soaring through the air like a rag doll. With a powerful crash, the defeated guard slams violently into the ground, kicking up a massive shockwave of dirt and dust. Staring at the unconscious fighter, the terrified leader of the traffickers screams, "You idiot! That huge guy went down with one hit?" Before the leader can recover from his shock, a blindingly fast arrow grazes his cheek, drawing blood and warning him to stay down. Clutching his bleeding cheek on the ground, the trembling leader groans in terror, cursing, You bastards!" Standing over the defeated leader with his bow drawn, Dahlia menacingly asks if he still wants to fight, forcing the terrified trafficker to instantly throw up his hands in surrender. Under the starry night sky, the scene transitions to a grand, illuminated building where the freed elves have been brought to safety. Inside the warm room, the grateful elf father bows deeply to Marin, saying, "Thank you for saving us. I don't know how to repay this." Dahlia smiles gently and humbles himself, explaining that he only did what anyone should do since he couldn't ignore his own people being taken as slaves, while the family repeatedly thanks them. Turning back to his partner, Dahlia asks, "Sorry to keep you waiting. Is everything settled?" Dahlia explains that the illegal slave traders have been handed over to the guards, and it seems they have several accomplices and relatives involved as well. Dahlia adds that since they also committed the serious crime of impersonating nobility, they will face proper and severe punishment. Marin reacts with a quiet start as he feels someone staring up at him. Standing beside her mother, the adorable little elf girl tugs her dress and asks Marin, "You're the uncle who saved us, right?" Looking up with a bright, cheerful smile, the little girl beams and says, "Uncle, you are so cool. Thank you for saving us." As they prepare to leave, the little girl waves happily and shouts, "Helmet, Uncle, see you later," while Marin awkwardly bows in return. Marin stands quietly in silence, staring after the departing family, deeply touched by the little girl's pure-hearted gratitude. Scratching his head in slight embarrassment, Dahlia turns to Marin and groans, "Marin, I never thought I'd say this to a human." Dahlia stammers out his appreciation, saying, "Thanks for saving them. I hate admitting it, but because a human helped me, I was able to save my comrades." Taking the emotional moment, Marin bluntly requests, "So give me money," leaving a shocked Dahlia staring in absolute disbelief. Marin looks down and clarifies, "If you're grateful, give me money," prompting Dahlia to ask in outrage, "You want money instead of gratitude?" Trembling with anger, Dahlia demands, "You didn't help me in the dungeon just for money from the start, right?" To which Marin pragmatically replies, "That's not it, but money's more reliable than words, isn't it?" Shaking with pure irritation, Dahlia fumes to himself. And here I was, being thankful that a human saved me. Losing his temper, Dahlia hurls a heavy leather pouch of coins at Marin's chest, shouting, "Damn it, take this and get lost." Storming off in a huff, Dahlia yells, "You money-grubbing bastard, I'll never trust a human again." The next day, the scene transitions to the bustling main hall of the Hexalum Guild. On the counter, the guild receptionist inspects the bags of coins and harvested monster parts, cheerfully declaring, "All checked. It's the exact amount of items requested." Daisy, the receptionist, beams a bright smile and congratulates Marin on completing his first tough request so quickly and perfectly. Daisy slides over 2 silver coins, saying, "And here's your payment for this request." Marin stares down in utter disappointment at the small payout in his palm, sweat dropping as he mutters, "Was the reward always this tiny? The reward feels a little short. By the way." With a dark, ominous smile on her face, the guild receptionist Daisy explains that according to guild rules, any unpaid fees will be automatically deducted from Marin's job rewards until they are fully settled. Marin dejectedly promises to pay off his debt as quickly as possible and decides to grab another request immediately, while Daisy cheerfully bids him farewell. Under the bright morning light, Marin stands before the busy guild request board, scanning the posted sheets alongside several other adventurers. Marin stares at the board, thinking that while money is important, he really wants to try eating something new and delicious this time as he reviews the quests available at his current rank. Marin looks at 2 requests, the level 15 Stoss dungeon, which he passes on because it only has stone monsters, and the level 26 Orc's Hut, a place he has never visited before. Imagining a beautifully prepared platter of grilled pork-like meat, Marin wonders what an orc actually tastes like and if its meat is similar to pork. Marin's thoughts are interrupted by Mickey, the orange-haired archer from the carriage, who happily greets him and asks if he decided to become an adventurer. Laughing heartily, Mickey pats Marin on the back and jokes that she thought he had died since he wasn't eating anything on the carriage, but she is glad to see him doing well. Hearing her companion call out to her, Mickey apologizes for getting carried away chatting and turns to introduce her party members to Marin. A blonde male archer introduces himself as Olga, the leader of Mickey's party, while Mickey proudly describes Marin as a picky eater but an incredibly strong mercenary. Mickey introduces the rest of the team, pointing out Olga as their co-archer and Hecate, a bunny-eared beastman, as the party's mage, noting they have been together for a long time. Marin quietly analyzes their composition, thinking that having 2 archers and 1 mage is a very fragile setup, and asks who serves as their frontliner. Mickey sweat drops and admits they usually hire a temporary frontliner, but they haven't been able to find anyone for a week, preventing them from entering any dungeons. The sudden spark of excitement, Mickey reaches out her hand toward Marin to make a proposal. Mickey beams a bright smile and eagerly invites Marin to join their party as their designated frontliner for their upcoming raid on the Orc Hut dungeon. Inside the dungeon, a massive green orc swings a giant wooden club down at Mickey, sending her falling backward in terror as she screams in panic. Suddenly, a flaming arrow cuts through the air, aiming directly at the attacking beast's face. The explosive arrow pierces the orc's eye, triggering a violent blast that makes the beast roar in agony as Mickey cheers for Olga's excellent support. A massive explosion erupts right over the orc's head, completely neutralizing the threat. The defeated orc slams face down onto the dirt, prompting a cheering Mickey to celebrate their perfect synchronization, while Hecate sighs in relief that her spell wasn't too slow. As Mickey happily talks about how smoothly their hunts have been going ever since Marin joined, Hecate's long ears suddenly twitch in alarm. The party's celebration is cut short as the ground begins to shake violently, leaving Olga and Mickey wondering if they are experiencing an earthquake. A massive stampede of angry, red-eyed orcs suddenly emerges from the forest, charging directly toward the startled adventurers. Miki panics as she realizes they are being swarmed by a whole horde of orcs, wondering if the monsters were drawn by the death cries of the ones they just killed. Screaming for everyone to run, the party flees in terror while Marin stands his ground in the background, drawing his sword. In her haste to escape, Hecate trips over a tree root and crashes hard onto the ground, crying out in panic. A massive red-eyed orc looms menacingly over the fallen mage, raising its heavy wooden club to deliver a lethal blow. Staring up at the towering monster in absolute horror, Hecate screams in terror as she faces certain death. In a flash, a devastating sword strike cleaves the giant orc in half, showering the stunned Hecate in a spray of blood. With blinding speed, Marin tears through the stampeding horde, slicing and dismembering the orcs in a flurry of blood and steel. Marin leaps through the air with unmatched grace, spinning his blade and slaughtering the remaining monsters in seconds. Olga and Miki run back to the trembling Hecate, completely speechless at Marin's unbelievable ability to wipe out an entire horde of orcs single-handedly. Standing amidst a pile of bloody orc corpses under a crimson sky, Marin sheaths his sword as a stunned Olga wonders just how terrifyingly strong he really is. Another orc roars in agony as it is riddled with arrows, finally collapsing to the ground. Olga cheerfully declares that they have defeated 10 orcs and should call it a day, while Miki groans and stretches her sore shoulder from firing her bow so much. Whispering to Olga, Miyake wonders what level Marin must be to possess such scary power, before turning to thank him for keeping Hecate safe. Hecate calls out to express her gratitude, only to realize that Marin has completely vanished from his spot, leaving behind only a faint afterimage. Hecate's nose twitches as a savory scent fills the air, prompting Miki to wonder why they smell roasting meat in the middle of a dungeon. Peeking behind a large tree, they find Marin quietly sitting by himself, grilling food over a cozy campfire. Miki happily approaches him, joking that he should have told them if he was grilling meat, but she stops dead in her tracks in pure horror as she notices a severed orc head and a bloody raw thigh lying next to his pot. Pointing in absolute shock and disgust, Miki screams at Marin, asking what he is doing with an orc, while Olga and Hecate tremble in disbelief at his bizarre cooking habits. A close-up reveals a pair of thick, juicy steaks cooking in a pan over the open fire, proudly labeled as grilled orc thigh. Marin brings a piece of the grilled meat to his visor, noting that while he expected it to taste like pork, the texture feels like a unique blend of beef and pork. Taking his first bite, Marin is instantly amazed by the rich flavor, happily declaring it to be absolutely delicious. Marin savors the rich, juicy meat, finding it fatty, tender, and packed with umami, confirming that it is indeed much closer to pork than beef. Miki flails her arms and screams at him to stop eating the disgusting monster, while Olga gags in repulsion and Hecate clasps her hands to pray for his corrupted soul. Ignoring his companion's horror, Marin seasons the meat and thinks that adding a bit of salt and pepper next time will make it taste even better. Marin holds up a perfectly seasoned, glistening steak on his fork, admire its beautifully grilled texture. Chewing happily, Marin enjoys the perfect aroma of the pepper and notes that while the meat is a bit greasy, it would pair beautifully with some vegetables. Olga and Miki watch him in sheer, sweating disbelief, unable to comprehend how someone can eat monster meat with such genuine enjoyment. Miki huddled with Hecate and Olga, whispering urgently, "Hecate, Olga, come over here for a second," while Marin quietly finished his meal in the foreground. Marin stared down at his plate, thinking to himself, "This party is over. Still, this orc meat, if I take it back and use it in other dishes, it would probably taste even better." Suddenly, a hand gently tapped his shoulder from behind, and a voice called out, "Marin." Olga looked down at him with a sheepish smile, explaining, "I won't pretend to understand your unique culinary tastes, but could you at least refrain from eating so openly?" While Marin asked in surprise, "Huh? You're not kicking me out?" Olga smiled warmly and reassured him, "Just because your tastes are a bit unusual doesn't mean we'd kick out a skilled frontliner." While Hecate politely offered, "I brought some of those biscuits, so please have some." Marin quietly declined her offer. Olga then stretched and said, "The sun's already set, so let's eat and get some sleep," as Miki enthusiastically offered some beef jerky. Suddenly, a massive red-eyed orc emerged from the dense forest, roaring furiously as it prepared to attack. The party instantly moved into position, with Marin standing at the front, raising his heavy red and white shield to protect his companions. The aggressive orc leaped forward, raising its massive wooden club to crush the adventurers. With perfect timing, Marin intercepted the blow, deflecting the giant beast's strike with his shield. Working in perfect unison, the party unleashed a devastating barrage of magic and arrows, completely neutralizing the monster. Later that evening, Hecate looked incredibly weary and traumatized, sweating nervously as she watched Marin quietly cook over the campfire. As night fell, the party set up camp in a rocky hollow, sleeping peacefully around the warmth of the fire while Marin rested slightly further away. Olga looked over and called out, "Marin, it's the last day of the quest, but are you really going to sleep alone again?" To which Marin calmly replied, "Yeah, it's easier that way." Miki lay on her stomach, staring blankly into the fire with a thoughtful and slightly concerned expression, while Hecate yawned sleepily behind her. Hecate waved sleepily, saying, "Thank you. Well then, good night, everyone," as Marin prepared to sleep in his full suit of heavy armor. A peaceful silence settled over the quiet forest camp, filled only by the calming crackle of the campfire. A close-up of Marin's helmet showed him fast asleep, completely unaware of the surrounding tension. In his dreams, a sepia-toned memory of his past party appeared, laughing around a campfire as one of them joked, "For a priest, you sure pick a lot of fights." His old fans waved warmly to him in the memory, calling out, "Hey, over here! How far did you go looking for firewood? The fire's already going." A beautiful, blonde female knight in gleaming armor turned to him with a gentle smile, whispering his name, Roan. Marin was suddenly shaken awake by a loud, panicked shout echoing through the campsite. "Marin Glack!" He sat up abruptly, gasping, "Huh?" Only to find Olga, Miki, and Hecate standing over him with dead serious, tense expressions. Marin looked around in confusion, muttering, "Why is everyone awake? I don't think it's my turn for watch yet." Hecate pointed her glowing staff directly at his face, trembling as she warned, "Don't move. The incantation is already complete. If you move, your head will fly off. Just answer our questions." Olga held up a glowing green crystal and explained, "While you were sleeping, we used an appraisal stone on you. You're strangely strong and never get hurt, so we wanted to check just what your level was." Pointing a shaking finger at him, a horrified Miki stammered, "But Marin, just what is that?" A glowing status window floated in the air, displaying Marin's hidden titles, including one that stood out in stark red letters, Kinslayer. Olga demanded to know the truth behind the terrifying stat block, shouting, "What the heck is that Kinslayer title listed there?" Inside his dark helmet, Marin could only gasp in shock as his darkest secret was laid bare before his new companions. A crimson screen materialized, displaying the details of the ominous title over a blood-dripping sword. The screen described the title, a title granted to a cold-blooded individual who has slaughtered over 100 members of their own race. It further explained the dark effect over a scene of a blood-drenched battlefield, increases attack power by 5 when combating members of one's own race. Miki cried out in absolute horror and disgust. "You killed people? And more than 100 of them? I can't just overlook this." Olga tried to remain rational, stating, "Seeing as you became an adventurer at the Hexalum Guild without issue, you must not have a criminal record, but this is a separate issue entirely." Hecate begged him for an explanation, shouting, "Explain why you have that title. If it's a misunderstanding, tell us, Marin." As Marin remained dead silent, Miki panicked even more, crying, "Why won't you say anything? Don't tell me you approached us to take our lives from the start." While Olga pressed, "Then explain it. Why do you have the Kinslayer title?" Bowing his head in deep resignation, Marin finally spoke, quietly saying, "I'm sorry." Olga sighed, looking down at him. "I don't know what your circumstances are, but you realize we can't just turn a blind eye to this right now, don't you? It doesn't matter if you eat monsters or if your level is weirdly high, but..." Olga looked at him with cold, unwavering eyes and declared, "I can't trust someone with a history of murder any longer. I want you out of this party." Marin sat in absolute silence, offering no excuses as he quietly accepted their decision. Standing up, Marin quietly muttered, "Understood," shocking Olga and Hecate with his immediate calm compliance. Under the silent, watchful eyes of the party, Marin hoisted his heavy pack onto his shoulders and walked away into the dark forest alone. The scene transitioned to a new memory, marked by a title card reading 100 years ago, Southern Tyrant Forest. A fierce battle from the past unfolded as a pack of snarling, red-eyed goblins charged aggressively toward a lone defender. From the trees, a confident female archer smiled and drew her bow, shouting, "They fell for it hook, line, and sinker." Her arrows flew with deadly precision, instantly piercing the charging goblins through their skulls. The goblins collapsed dead on the dirt path as an armored knight walked past them. The smiling blonde knight turned to the archer and praised, "Good work, everyone. Is anyone injured? To think you shot down 2 at once. You're quite skilled, aren't you?" To which the archer modestly replied, No, you're praising me too much for something like this." Their companion, a priest, cheerfully raised his hands and said, "We've still got 18 left, so let's keep our spirits up," earning a playful tease from the archer as Marin quietly observed them. Charlotte asks the leader if the subjugation certificates are ready, to which the leader confirms and tells her they should move out. Walking through the forest, the party discusses a cheeky guild receptionist and notices that there are fewer goblins than expected. The leader suggests the goblins might be gathered in a settlement further in the forest, while the ranger jokes that they simply hid out of fear. As the priest laughs at the idea of monsters being scared, the leader suddenly senses something wrong, only to find himself grabbing a blood-soaked body in the dark. In a terrifying vision of his past, the leader sees his former companions standing before him as blood-drenched, red-eyed shadows. He is surrounded by massive, glowing red eyes that accuse him of their demise and demand to know why he was the only survivor. Marin sits up in bed gasping, shaken awake by the horrific nightmare. Still wearing his helmet, Marin sits in his bed and catches his breath. He quietly contemplates the dream as the morning sun shines through his window. The scene shifts to the bustling main hall of the local adventurers guild. As a visitor enters, the guild members turn their attention toward the entrance. The adventurers whisper among themselves, pointing out the rumored murderer who extorts rookie parties and questioning if he should even be allowed in the guild. Marin tightly grips his pack, realizing that the rumors have spread quickly while he was resting. Deciding to ignore the gossip, Marin approaches the reception counter where the elf receptionist welcomes him warmly. The receptionist happily announces that Marin has been promoted to a C-rank adventurer, showing him a procurement request for harpy feathers. Staring at the request, Marin gets distracted thinking about delicious fried chicken and wonders if harpy meat tastes similar. Suddenly, a hand slams onto the desk as a voice calls him a bastard blinded by greed. A smug elf adventurer named Dahlia greets Marin, mockingly noting his short human lifespan. Dahlia patronizingly pats his helmet and mentions the rumor about his triple-digit body count, but Marin ignores him and asks to take the harpy request, prompting Dahlia to lose his temper. A red-haired Beastman girl approaches Dahlia and asks if Marin is the human he was talking about. The Beastman girl stands proudly, showing off her athletic build and martial artist gear. Dahlia confidently introduces her as the leader of the party he has joined. She introduces herself enthusiastically as Imotar Ketrit Cherokee, greeting Marin with a cheerful "Nya." Marin silently observes her, noting her martial artist equipment. Checking her status block, Marin is impressed to see that her strength stat is exceptionally high. However, Marin breaks a sweat as he takes a closer look at her registered class. Imotar proudly taps her chest and declares her job as a priest, which leaves Marin completely baffled. Looking at her muscular, wild appearance, Marin thinks that she is about as far from a holy priest as someone can possibly get. Dahlia explains that he wanted a party of other races to avoid humans, and ended up joining Imotar's misanthrope party. Imotar explains that only she and Dahlia are in the party, and suggests that Marin join them after hearing the rumors. Dahlia tells Marin that his Kinslayer title makes him an ideal fit for their anti-human party, and Imotar formally offers him a spot. Marin claims he has no idea what they are talking about, prompting Dahlia to sigh about humans being slow to understand. Imotar reaches her hand out, offering him a spot as a special exception because of his high human body count. Marin flatly rejects the proposal, but Imotar points out that he does not have any other options given his reputation. Looking at the hostile glares of the surrounding guild members, Marin reluctantly agrees to join them temporarily. Imotar happily shakes his hand, praising his choice. Imotar raises her fist and suggests they head out to test their combat compatibility. Pointing to the harpy request, she declares that they are heading straight to the dungeon. Deep inside the dark cave of the dungeon, the sound of dripping water echoes. Suddenly, a flock of red-eyed harpies screeches and dive-bombs the group. Imotar calls on her party members to prepare for battle and take the monsters down. As the flying monsters swoop in, Marin prepares his shield, thinking that airborne enemies are tricky for a defender. Marin wonders if he should jump to reach them, but is suddenly interrupted by something fast flying overhead. An arrow pierces a harpy, causing it to crash down and make Marin realize how much easier combat is with an archer. Dahlia smugly readies another arrow, warning Marin not to let humans steal their prey and telling him where to stand. Another aggressive harpy roars as it speeds toward them. Imotar runs forward and yells at Marin to put up his shield. Imotar uses Marin's sturdy shield as a springboard, launching herself high into the air. She soars gracefully toward the oncoming flying monster. With a powerful blood-splattering punch, Imotar strikes the harpy squarely in the face. Under a splatter of blood, Imotar and Marin stand victorious over a defeated harpy in the dark cave. Imotar smiles and praises Marin's quick reaction time, thanking him for the great teamwork, while Marin mutters that she should have given him a heads up sooner. Looking at Imotar and Dahlia, Marin quietly thinks to himself that having comrades to fight alongside might not be such a bad thing after all. Standing over 3 defeated harpies, Imotar enthusiastically suggests they clean up the battlefield and take a quick break. Marin is distracted by a tiny movement amongst the harpy feathers on the ground. tiny, fluffy pink creature pops out of the feathers holding 2 black feathers, prompting Dahlia to explain that it's a popular mana-powered pet golem known as a living doll. Dahlia proudly displays the cute little creature sleeping in a small wooden box, introducing it as Forco, a limited edition model worth 2 whole gold coins. Kneeling down, Dahlia happily praises Forco for helping clean up the feathers while the little golem makes happy sounds. Dahlia lovingly holds Forco and explains that as long as they run on mana, they never die, and they can even help out with combat and cleanups, while Imotar comments that Dahlia has a weakness for cute things. Marin stares silently and intensely at the small golem, making Dahlia sweat nervously as he clutches Forco defensively. Dahlia defensively turns away, shouting at Marin that Forco is a golem and absolutely cannot be eaten, leaving Marin wondering if he said anything out loud. Resting by the harpy corpses, Dahlia notes that their hunt is going incredibly smooth and that they have already caught nearly half of their target. Imotar points out that Marin has serious skills and questions why Dahlia was so hesitant to introduce him, teasingly asking if it's because they both share a deep hatred for humans. Sweat dropping, Dahlia nervously replies that there are simply circumstances behind his hesitation. Suddenly sniffing the air, Imotar notices a mouth-watering aroma of roasted chicken drifting through the cave. Dahlia looks around in panic and realizes Marin has disappeared, prompting Imotar to angrily storm off in search of the person sneaking off to roast meat alone. Back at a makeshift campsite, a piece of meat is sliced on a wooden cutting board next to a pan heated over a portable stove. Marin notes that the meat is already seasoned with salt and that the pan is perfectly heated up and ready for cooking. Placing the meat into the sizzling pan, Marin thinks about how the satisfying sound of cooking meat never gets old as he prepares to plate it. Marin serves up a plate of pan-seared harpy shoulder, looking forward to tasting it and wondering if harpy meat tastes exactly like chicken. Lifting his visor slightly, Marin takes a bite of the cooked harpy meat. Marin is absolutely amazed by the taste, describing the texture as being like chicken, but far more flavorful, sweet, and perfectly fatty with no gaminess. Dahlia and Imotar suddenly burst into the clearing, screaming at Marin to stop right there and asking what on earth is wrong with him. Marin casually offers to share the food if they are hungry, prompting a furious Dahlia to yell at him for eating something that has a human-like face. Imotar covers her head in absolute horror, screaming that this is the most terrifying and blasphemous thing she has ever seen in her entire life. Marin calmly points out that anatomically speaking, a harpy's face is closer to a fish's mimicry than a human's, which only makes Dahlia and Imotar shout back in frustration. Dahlia cries over how he had to witness such a cruel scene on only his second guild outing, while a delicious steam continues to rise from Marin's plate. Imotar shivers as she looks at the pan-seared meat, fighting off the horrifying realization that it actually smells incredibly delicious. Holding a piece of meat on a fork, Marin offers it to a sweating Imotar, who defensively barks that she would never eat such a thing. Marin sighs and takes a bite himself, muttering that it is a shame because the meat is genuinely delicious, which leaves Imotar staring in conflicted temptation. Imotar panics and shakes her head in frustration, screaming about how a human dares to test her, while a worried Dahlia tries to calm her down. Struggling with her inner instincts, Imotar questions why a monster has to smell so good, which reminds Marin that he also has a pot braising over the fire. Opening the lid of the pot, Marin happily reveals a perfectly cooked braised harpy leg. Imotar looks on in disgust and shock as Marin picks up the large harpy leg, questioning how he can eat a part with barely any meat on it, while Marin explains he has always wanted to try unseasoned chicken feet. Marin brings the braised leg to his helmet, preparing to take a bite. Chewing on the collagen-rich meat, Marin praises how soft and sweet it is after being braised slowly. Marin smiles as he contemplates bringing the last piece home to try with a spicy sauce, while a crying Dahlia sighs in absolute mental exhaustion behind him. Dahlia looks over at Marin and asks what he is eating now, to which Marin casually offers him a piece. Realizing what Marin is chewing on, Dahlia screams in panic that harpy claws contain paralysis poison, just as Marin's body locks up and he collapses. Dahlia frantically screams at Imotar to use status recovery magic on Marin, but she sheepishly admits that she never learned it because it was too much of a hassle. Suddenly, a wild harpy screeches as it ambushes them, prompting Dahlia to scream in terror while Imotar blames him for making a scene and drawing attention. Imotar steps forward and prepares to unleash a powerful fire spell, telling everyone to get out of the way, while Dahlia pleads with her not to panic. Imotar casts her spell, shouting, "Raging Inferno, Flama Infernos," as a massive column of fire erupts while Dahlia screams in absolute horror for Forco. The massive fireball engulfs the area, knocking over a paralyzed Marin as Dahlia continues to scream for his pet. Dahlia falls to his knees in despair, looking at the charred remains of his precious Forco and crying that he hadn't even owned the golem for a single week. A wild harpy flies away into the darkness of the cave as Imotar looks back at the burnt ground where Maren lies paralyzed. An enraged Dahlia grabs Imotar by her collar, screaming at her for destroying his precious Forco, while Imotar sweat drops and apologizes, explaining that her skill proficiency is only F rank. Imotar nervously promises to buy him a replacement, but Dahlia snaps back that Forco was a limited edition model that can no longer be bought anywhere. Back at the Adventurers Guild, the receptionist happily accepts their Harpy Quest items, while a traumatized Imotar requests that the guild handles the disposal of any leftover Harpy meat. Walking away from the counter, a completely exhausted Dahlia sighs over how mentally draining the day was, while Imotar nervously asks if he is sure he doesn't want her to buy him a new Forco. Close-up of a hand clutching a harpy's claw, Imotar looks surprised, saying, "Nyo?" Imotar points out to Maren, who is carrying a brown sack, "Well, wait, why are you bringing that? Don't tell me you're planning to eat it again." Maren casually responds, "It'd be a waste to throw it away after butchering it." Imotar's chibi head floats above as she yells, "You're seriously taking it out like that? At least put it in your storage." Maren tilts his head in confusion, repeating, "Storage?" Maren thinks to himself, "Oh right, I think I had something like that." A blue holographic status screen appears, showing active, neutral, storage limit 30 slots, value limit 100 gold. Maren raises his hand to interact with the translucent blue storage screen containing a few inventory items, muttering, I completely forgot about it." Maren stands with his giant backpack, sweating as he realizes, "I've been lugging around heavy stuff this whole time, so that's why everyone was staring. I was doing something ridiculous. Do they have to look at me like that?" A text bubble in a white light says, "How long have I been forgetting this?" Maren touches his helmet in deep frustration and embarrassment, reflecting on his mental state. "Not even remembering something this basic? My mental state right now is really human." Maren, Imotar, and Dahlia stand together. Imotar happily asks, "So, how was it?" Dahlia smiles warmly, replying, "That last part was rough, but I think our skills are solid and we work well together." Maren, looking back, replies, "Huh? Oh, not bad." Dahlia reaches out his hand to offer Maren a spot, asking, "How about officially joining our party? If we work together, any quest would be a breeze." Maren agrees to join, and Imotar happily exclaims, "That means we're officially forming a party, nya?" Dahlia smiles confidently, thinking to himself that although they are both misanthropic, they definitely have the skills, and having allies is better than being alone. Maren flatly accepts, saying, "Yeah, fine, I'll join the party." Imotar beams with joy, shouting, "Nya!" Imotar runs off excitedly, her tail swaying as she says, "I'm so glad, nya. I'll go register us as a formal party right now, nya." Dahlia and Maren watch her leave in silence. Maren looks at Dahlia, thinking, "Well, a lot happened, but I guess we're comrades from now on." Dahlia looks at Maren with a gentle, slightly sad smile, saying, "I'm counting on you for the short remainder of your life, human." No, Maren Glack. Flashback or memory showing a blonde-haired female knight in silver armor, smiling, reaching her hand out. A bubble says, "I'm counting on you too, Charlotte." Maren stands in silence, staring ahead as a solemn silence settles over him. Imotar returns running and waving a piece of parchment, yelling, "Sorry to keep you waiting, Yan. I've applied for the formal party registration, Yan." Imotar proudly holds up the registration paper, saying, "Ta-da! The name is," while Dahlia and Maren peer down at it with curious looks. Imotar declares, "The messed up party, nya." Dahlia and Maren both freeze in absolute shock, their faces turning pale as lightning strikes behind them. An enraged Dahlia screams, "What? Messed up? You registered us with a party name like that?" Imotar waves her hands defensively, replying, "Yep. Do you have a complaint with the leader's decision, yeah?" Dahlia snaps back, "The role of leader isn't there for you to abuse your power. Why did you choose that name in the first place?" Imotar recalls her inspiration, explaining, "I heard the human mutter it earlier at the harpy nest, nya. This is messed up. I just really like that word, nya. How do I put it? I don't really know the meaning, but it was a word that touched my heart, nya." Dahlia fumes, yelling, "Who in the world names their party messed up for a reason like that?" Dahlia points aggressively at Imotar, yelling, "And don't you know the principle that party names are decided by all members together?" Imotar crosses her arms smugly and replies, "We didn't have any other candidates for the party name, nya, so you followed the leader's opinion, yan." Dahlia falls to his knees, clutching his head in utter despair, groaning, "To think the achievements I build up from now on will be under the name Messed Up. Oh, World Tree, why do you give me nothing but these trials?" As Maren and Imotar watch him. Close-up of Maren's feet walking away as he thinks to himself, "Even if the party name is a bit weird, it's not like I'm gonna die, so whatever. I'll just go back to my room and roast the rest of that harpy meat to eat." Imitar notices him leaving and asks, "Oh, human? Where are you going, nya?" Marin simply replies, "Back to the inn." Imitar winks and raises a fist, shouting, "We have a new member, so we have to hold a welcome party, nya? A drinking party to double as a welcome party and a celebration for the request's success, nya?" Imitar's floating chibi head happily yells, "It's a welcome party, so it's meaningless if the new member isn't here, nya? Dahlia, once you stop crying, you come along too, nya?" A transition frame showing the exterior of a cozy tavern under a beautiful starry night sky. Inside, the muffled sound of glasses clinking and cheers echoes. Inside the lively tavern, Imitar raises a wooden mug, cheering, "Nya ha ha, eat and drink as much as you like today, nya." Meanwhile, Dahlia grumbles to Imitar, "No matter what you say, I can't accept a party name like Messed Up." Imitar crosses her arms smugly and replies, "I already submitted it, so give it up, nya." Holding a grudge like that, so typical of an elf, nya. Dahlia's chibi head barks, "Whose fault do you think this is?" at the dinner table filled with delicious food, including a roasted chicken, salad, and stew. Marin sits quietly, staring at the feast, thinking, "It looks delicious," but Marin stares silently at the steaming food in front of him, keeping his visor down. Marin hesitates for a second, thinking, maybe just one bite, as he brings a small piece of food on a fork to his mouth. As Marin takes a bite, Dahlia continues his rant, saying, "At the very least, you should have picked a cool proper noun like Starseeker or Memoria." Imitar retorts, "If you think those are cool, your taste is lame, yeah?" Marin slumps in disappointment, thinking, "Just as I thought, it tastes awful, like chewing on hot newspaper." Dahlia looks over at Marin and notices something, asking, "That talk?" Marin, holding his wooden mug, asks in confusion, "What talk?" Imitar's face is reflected upside down in the foam of her drink as she explains, "It's about our party's goal, nya. Actually, this party's goal is to become an A-rank party in the shortest time possible, nya." An overhead view of the tavern table. Marin asks, "A-rank? Why?" Dahlia looks down and answers quietly, "Well, we each have our circumstances. Adventurers in Hexero all start at rank D and can rise to higher ranks through promotion exams. However, the highest rank an ordinary adventurer can reach through exams is rank B." The narration continues over a dramatic illustration of powerful warriors and monsters. To reach A rank, one must be recognized for commensurate strength and achievements to gain the qualification for promotion, and the content of that promotion exam is a mystery known to almost no one. Imitar places her hands on the table next to a roasted chicken dish, saying, "As for me, nya." Imitar looks down with a solemn, determined expression as she reveals her painful background. "My younger brothers are still slaves, captured by humans, nya, so I need a huge amount of money to liberate them, nya." A tragic flashback shows her younger brothers bound in heavy iron chains on the floor, while a dark silhouette of a human master with glowing red eyes looms in the foreground. "That human told me he'd let me loose for 3 years. He said if I gather the money and come back, he'll sell me my brother's freedom. He promised not to sell my brothers to anyone else or lay a hand on them for those 3 years, nah?" Motar tightly clenches her fists, continuing her tragic tale. "My family became slaves after the revolution, so we weren't saved, nah? The only way to become free is to pay the master and buy back our status, nah?" Marin ponders on this unfamiliar word, murmuring, "Revolution?" This prompts Dahlia and Imitar to stare at him in complete disbelief and confusion. Dahlia asks, "You don't tell me you don't even know what the revolution is? It happened recently by human standards. And more importantly, as a human, there's no way you shouldn't know about it, right?" Imitar rests her chin on her hand, teasing, "Have you been living alone in the mountains for the last 100 years or something, yeah?" Dahlia folds his hands together, his expression turning serious as he begins to explain. "I'll explain it simply. As you know, humans have been kidnapping and trafficking other races for centuries." Dahlia explains the dark history of non-human exploitation through dramatic illustrations of slaves. They captured elves because they were mysterious and beautiful, forced dwarves to work like machines because of their technical skills, and enslaved beastmen, looking down on them as lowly animals. And my family was among those who were. The illustration continues to depict a depressing scene of a beastman, a winged demi-human, and an elf locked in a dimly lit dungeon cellar. Humans locked up our captured brethren so they couldn't escape, and exploited them for their own desires. The depressing flashback panel continues to show a captive elf sitting in a glowing red cage structure, with heavy chains hanging in the dark background. In those prisons they couldn't escape from, our brethren wasted away in both body and mind. A gruesome illustration shows a bloody, lifeless hand bound by a heavy iron shackle on a stone floor. Those who tried to escape and were caught all met terrible ends. Aaron looks down in deep thought as Dahlia wraps up the history lesson. The humans' exploitation continued for ages, and eventually, unable to bear the tyranny any longer, many races united and formed an alliance. Races that had lived separately joined forces to stand up against the humans. That was the beginning of the revolution. The humans called it the race war. We presented several demands to the humans, one of which was the abolition of slavery. We declared that if they didn't accept our demands, we would launch a full-scale war. Naturally, the humans took a hardline stance at first, but unlike us, who had nothing to lose, they had too much. In the end, the humans accepted the conditions and signed a treaty. Under this treaty, the trafficking of other races became illegal, and provisions were included to prevent them from interfering in our lives. After that, our hidden brethren slowly began to show themselves, and now, seeing various races walking around naturally has become a common sight. Dahlia explains, "It's thanks to that treaty that Emotar and I can work as adventurers." Emotar nods happily, replying, "That's right, Nya." Emotar proudly declares, "That's why I became an adventurer as soon as I was liberated, Nya, because being an adventurer is the best way to earn a lot of money in a short time, Nya." Hearing this, Marin quietly thinks to himself, "I had no idea that such a treaty existed." Marin turns his attention to the elf, asking, "Then Dahlia, what are your circumstances?" Dahlia looks down and answers, "For me," Dahlia explains, "It's to become the elder of the forest where I lived. My family has taken on the role of forest elder for generations, and that duty was entrusted to our generation as well." Dahlia reveals the conflict, saying, "But the problem is, that role is forced solely upon the eldest child of each generation." Dahlia continues to share his frustration, explaining, "Even though my older sister hates the idea of taking over the elder's seat, everyone keeps insisting on the rules and trying to force her into the role. Even though I'm more confident than anyone that I can protect the forest," as he tightly clenches his fist on the table. After hearing my plea, our brethren held a council. They decided that if I can prove myself with achievements in the outside world by the time I turn 150, they'll grant me the elder's seat. Dahlia adds with firm determination, "Just becoming an A-rank adventurer won't be enough, but it will surely be a necessary gateway for an even greater goal." Reflecting on his companions, Marin realizes that from escaping slavery to striving to become a forest elder, they all have such desperate reasons. Meanwhile, Dahlia looks at Marin and says, "Anyway, since we each have our own desires, we'd be happy if you could go along with our goal. If possible, it would be even better if you had a similar goal." Emotar's cute chibi head floats over as she asks, "Human, don't you have a goal you want to achieve, Nya?" Marin hesitates, whispering, A solemn flashback reveals Marin kneeling in front of a tree with a memorial plaque on it inside a quiet fenced yard. Back in the tavern, Marin sits in tense silence. Sensing his heavy mood, Dahlia asks with concern, "Marin?" Clenching his fist on the table, Marin's resolve hardens as he thinks, "That's right, perhaps it was for this very purpose," before speaking aloud, Sitting quietly beneath the dim tavern lights, Marin prepares to reveal his true ultimate motivation. Squeezing his fist tight, Marin declares, "I have..." Dahlia and Imatar look at him in absolute shock as Dahlia asks in disbelief, "A dragon? Did you just say dragon?" A terrifying flashback shows a massive golden red dragon breathing fire and destroying a village. Marin explains, "The one that attacked Adorama years ago and burned the village to ash. That's the dragon I want to kill." Looking down solemnly, Marin states with absolute certainty, "And once I meet that dragon, there's something I have to do." A heavy silence fills the room as Imatar and Dahlia stare at him. Marin thinks to himself, "I knew they'd think I was joking." Staring down at his wooden mug filled with beer, Dahlia quietly mutters, "Human, you." Dahlia suddenly smiles and laughs, saying, "What the hell? I thought you had no greed at all. For a human, you hold bigger ambitions than any of us." Emotar giggles happily, teasing, "Don't tell me you're planning to eat a dragon too? You're absolutely insane." Dahlia continues, "Anyway, that means ranking up is your goal too, right? You need a high rank to get info or join operations like a dragon subjugation." Dahlia raises his mug with a bright smile, saying, "Well, since we have similar goals, let's do our best from here on out," as the three companions clink their mugs together in a cheerful toast. In his room, Marin prepares to cook over a hot hearth, thinking, "Since we officially formed the party yesterday, I figure I'll take it easy today and cook up a hearty meal." Opening his completely empty leather coin pouch, Marin laments, "Even so, I only bought a few ingredients and I'm already broke. After paying for the inn, I have nothing left." Pouring oil into a frying pan, Marin reasons, "Oil is expensive, so it's a waste. But first, let's heat it up." Reaching out his hand as a magical blue interface appears, Marin commands, and then storage. Fresh raw harpy meat appears on the cutting board. Marin is delighted, thinking, ooh, the raw meat is still perfectly preserved? Does it maintain the exact state from when I first put it in? This is the perfect food storage warehouse. Marin begins the preparation, thinking first beat the eggs to make a wash, as he cracks an egg into a wooden bowl with starch. Working with his hands, Marin thinks, then coat it evenly in the breadcrumb batter. Drop it into the heated oil and sizzling noises fill the room as the meat begins to fry in the hot oil. Holding his tongs and watching the bubbling oil, Marin happily thinks, man, this sound never gets old. Carefully flipping the frying pieces of meat, Marin thinks, once it's a nice golden brown, flip it a few times so it doesn't burn, then fry it a second time. A decorative ribbon reads deep-fried harpy thighs as Marin proudly exclaims, finally, drain the oil, plate it, and done. Holding a piece of deep-fried harpy meat on a fork, Marin remarks, since it's my first time, this turned out pretty well. Good thing I cut the meat into slightly larger chunks, perfect bite-sized pieces. Making sure his face remains completely hidden, Marin slightly lifts his helmet visor with an on to take a bite. As he chews, Marin is blown away by the incredible flavor. The crispy texture of the batter, the tender and juicy harpy thigh meat, it's the ultimate combination. Shaking with absolute joy, Marin thinks, and every time I chewed, the sweet juices locked inside the batter just burst out. Harpy meat really is delicious. Marin compares the unique taste to a sea delicacy, thinking, and this subtle sweetness unique to harpy meat it's just like a crab packed full of meat, as he imagines a massive, juicy crab leg. Eating piece after piece, Marin happily thinks, the more I eat, the more I want. There's no way this delicious meat could taste bad deep fried. I'm glad there's a lot of it. Suddenly, a loud voice bangs through his room door. Hey, human, are you in there? Startled mid-bite, Marin thinks, that voice, Dahlia? Dahlia continues to aggressively knock on the wooden door, yelling, it's broad daylight, are you still sleeping? I know you're in there, open up. A heavy wooden door slowly creaks open with a soft squeak. Marin opens the door wearing his casual clothes, but still keeping his full helmet on, asking, what do you want all of a sudden? A thoroughly confused Dahlia stares at him and asks, and why are you wearing a helmet inside the room? Dahlia waves off the strange sight and says, never mind that. I have something urgent to discuss. Do you have a minute? To which Marin replies, I was in the middle of eating. What is it? Well, it seems like there's a problem with Imotar. Huh? Out of nowhere? Just come inside for now. What happened? Is it something difficult to talk about outside? You? Don't tell me you're cooking monsters again. No, Imotar comes first right now. Forget it. This isn't the time to worry about that.
First, regarding the fact that I'm telling you this, you must keep it a secret from Imotar. So, with that in mind, can you lend me some money?
If that's what this is about, I don't need to hear it. Get out. Wait, listen to what the elf has to say until the end. If it's not a convincing reason, I'm kicking you out immediately. Are humans so impatient because their lifespans are so short? Anyway, to get to the point, Imotar. It seems she was deceived by her human master. Deceived? Yeah, I heard. The reason the party has taken a break from requests today is because Imotar went to see her siblings. But today, that damn master, he broke the promise and was preparing to put the siblings up for auction. That piece of trash human must have planned this from the start. He was just pretending to let them go to toy with Imotar. So when Imotar begged him to stop, he told her if she could come up with the ransom by the auction in 5 days, he'd call it off. 10 gold per person. For 2 brothers, that's 20 gold. 20 gold? Converting this world's currency value to my previous life standards, 1 brawn is about 10 yen, 100 brawn is 1 silver, and 100 silver makes 1 gold. The cost of living for an average adventurer is about 2 gold a month. 20 gold means that's about 2 million yen? Raise that much money in 5 days? I didn't want to go around spreading this story recklessly, but that prideful girl actually begged me to at least save her siblings. So you came to borrow the money in Imotar's place? Yeah, and I can't turn a blind eye to issues involving slaves. Since the treaty, minority races are brethren. If you could lend us even a little, I swear on my name I'll pay you back. I refuse. Even if we're officially a party, I've only known you guys for a few days. What about you makes you think I'd trust you enough to lend that much money? I don't even have that kind of cash anyway. That's right. This is the kind of person he is. This is troubling. It's about Imotar's siblings. I heard they are still just small children who barely started walking. This elf? She intends to use my personality to emotionally blackmail me in a situation like this? No, I was just stating the facts. Merit, you ask? Like paying it back double with interest? You guys might run away or I might die before I ever get it back, right? Like you said, my lifespan is short, you know? A tense silence fills the room as Dahlia and Marin sit across from each other at the table. Is this my only option? Hey, human? Lend me your ear for a second. What is it now? By any chance, do you possess the wind attribute among your elemental aptitudes? No, I don't. Why? And why are we whispering all of a sudden? In this world, as long as one possesses the intelligence stat, they can use magic from all lineages. Elemental aptitude, as the name suggests, indicates which of the elements one is naturally suited for. Magic used with one's aptitude attribute consumes less mana while boasting higher power. Elemental aptitude is mainly determined at birth. Most people are born with one type of attribute. Occasionally, there are geniuses born with 2 or more aptitudes. Most of the great mages who etched their names in history fit this category. If you help us with this matter, I will grant you the Spirit's blessing, which is of the wind attribute. Don't tell me you're going to say even this isn't enough? No, it's not that, but granting an attribute isn't something just anyone can do, right? Someone with your ability can do that? I swear on the name of the forest. Will you believe me now? Marin places his hand flat on the table, indicating he is ready to take action. Then let's go. Marin stands up and walks towards the exit while eating a piece of fried food as Dahlia lets out a weary sigh. A graphic message asking readers to support the Scanlation group by reading on their official website. By the way, how are you planning to get the money? I'm the one who asked for this, and 20 gold isn't cheap. In that case, I'll have to poach monsters from a high-level dungeon and get the byproducts, then sell them on the black market, right? Hey, what are you saying? The guild strictly forbids entering dungeons above your rank without permission. I know, but that's the only way to make that much money in such a short time, right? No matter what, illegal activity is way too risky. The guild assigns ranks to quests just like adventurers, and taking quests above your rank is strictly prohibited. If you're caught breaking the rules and entering a dungeon above your rank, you'll face heavy penalties, not just fines, but also a suspension from taking quests for a certain period. Even putting aside the legality, it'd take way too long. Unlike low-level dungeons, high-level ones are usually far from cities. Just traveling there and back could take 3 to 4 days. Come to think of it, how are you planning to get the money? Me? I thought about asking my family back home for help, but there's no way to get it back before Imotar's deadline, so I'm planning to use what little I've saved up from adventuring. Marin, don't you have any savings? Right now, right, you became an adventurer the same day I did. Then what about selling something you own? Something I own? I tried selling a little too early, but the most valuable thing I have right now is... Marin opens his glowing blue storage interface to browse his items. This is probably the only option. Marin focuses on a pair of valuable silver earrings with deep purple gems. For now, let's each scrape together what we can and meet up later. Yeah, got it. I'll see what money I can get together in the meantime. A mysterious cloaked figure quietly makes their way down a dark cobblestone corridor towards a barred cell. The mysterious cloaked figure carefully slips inside a heavy wooden doorway, vanishing into the darkness. The merchant at the counter asks, "What do you want?" as a cloaked figure approaches. The cloaked figure replies, "I have something I'd like to sell," to which the merchant responds, "I deal with everything from monster bone marrow to organs, so let's see it." A pair of valuable silver earrings with glowing deep purple gems is placed onto the wooden counter. The merchant holds up one of the earrings, saying, Earrings? You should just sell something like this at a jewelry store. Why?" Suddenly, the merchant's eyes widen in absolute shock as he realizes what he is holding. Wait a minute. Sweating profusely, the merchant exclaims, "These earrings are Pleiades fragments. The dungeon where you could get these is gone. They're unobtainable now. Where in the world did you get something this rare?" The cloaked figure, wearing a full metallic helmet, calmly replies, "An old companion gave them to me." A large, elegant mansion with a gated entrance stands under a bright blue sky. Inside the mansion's study, a young, wealthy-looking man with blonde hair sits comfortably in an armchair, sneering at a pink-furred beastkin girl wearing a heavy collar. He mocks her, saying, "Even after all that struggling, looks like that dim beast brain of yours finally gets its pointless, huh?" The cruel master continues to mock the beastkin girl, saying, "Giving you 3 years was just a whim of mine. Did you enjoy your little outing?" Gritting her teeth in immense frustration, the beastkin girl, Imotar, thinks to herself with rage, I want to rip them apart so badly, smash those annoying bastards." Suddenly, a voice shouts from outside, "Imotar, are you in there?" And her ear twitches. Imotar is shocked to recognize the voice, thinking, "That voice?" as she quickly turns her head toward the door. The heavy wooden door opens to reveal Dahlia, the white-haired elf, alongside Marin in his full knight armor. Imotar exclaims in surprise, "Dahlia, you came!" Growling, Imotar asks, "Why'd you bring that gluttonous human here?" To which Dahlia sweatingly replies, "Well, he helped me get the money together." Dahlia tells her, "I'll explain later. Right now, the money," as Marin stands behind her, holding a large, heavy bag of coins. Marin walks forward, carrying the bag, and addresses the master and his guard. "We're Imitar's party members, and we brought the amount you demanded from the owner. We'll pay Imitar's siblings ransom ourselves, so let's make a deal." Imitar turns back with a sharp glare, thinking to herself in disbelief, "Damn, even if we're in the same party, I had to accept help from a human. They're not going to use this against me later, are they?" The blonde-haired master and his guard look at the heavy bag. The master chuckles arrogantly, saying, "A bunch of C-rank adventurers brought that much money? Do I look like an idiot who can't tell counterfeit from real?" The master's eyes pop wide with shock as he opens the pouch and sees a pile of glittering gold coins. What? Real gold coins? They actually got all 20 gold together in that short time? Imotar demands urgently, "You can tell it's not counterfeit just by looking. Free my siblings right now." The master rests his chin on his hand, smirking deviously as he replies, "Kuhaha, you did bring the money, I'll give you that. But the contract terms stated that Imotar, you yourself had to earn the money. Money received from someone else doesn't fulfill the contract." Imotar gasps in disbelief, exclaiming, "That's ridiculous," as Dahlia steps forward with a firm stomp.
Dahlia raises her hand angrily and yells, "Cut the crap! Stop twisting your words! According to the covenant, if a slave's family provides the ransom, any money should be accepted for their release. You planning to ignore an elf, human?"
Gritting his teeth in annoyance, the devious master finally orders his guard, "Bring the goods and the identity documents." Imotar looks up in relief, thinking, "If Dahlia hadn't been here, I would have been at that bastard's mercy." As Dahlia warns the master, "Don't try anything funny." The guard returns and walks into the room, saying, "Sorry for the wait." Dahlia, Imotar, and Marin look on expectantly. Two small, young red fox beastkin children walk in holding hands, wearing simple tunics. The guard announces, "I've brought the slaves," and Imotar gasps, "Everyone!" The two children cry out, "Big sister," and run into Imitar's arms, crying happily. Imitar hugs them tightly and asks, "Are you two hurt?" Weeping with relief as she cradles her siblings, Imotar says, "It's okay now, sorry I'm late," while Marin quietly watches them. Marin observes the touching reunion, thinking to himself, just like Dahlia said, they enslaved kids this young. Marin balls his gloved hand into a tight fist as anger boils inside him, and they're way too skinny. How dare you starve these children? The master gestures toward his guard, who holds up a parchment document and says, "Here are the slaves' original identity documents." The master tears the documents in half right in front of them and declares, "Now, as you can see, I'm disposing of them. That settles our deal, right?" Imotar is filled with a sudden surge of fiery power, her eyes glowing yellow as she thinks, "How does that settle anything?" and begins conjuring a spell. With a fierce burst of flame from her hand, Imotar completely incinerates the torn pieces of the contract, burning the evidence of her siblings' slavery once and for all as she holds them close. The master leans back in his chair with a smug expression, saying, "Well, fine. Your siblings are completely free now. But Imotar, you're still my slave, got it? And you party members? Looks like you're out of money now. Time for you to leave, don't you think?" The master smugly asks, "Or would you like a souvenir? I could give you the chains those slaves were wearing." Outraged, Dahlia gasps, "Human, don't tell me." But Marin raises his hand to stop her, calmly saying, "No, we'll pass on that." Marin pulls out another glowing, heavy bag of gold and declares, "We're buying Imotar's status too." Dahlia, Imotar, and the master's guard are completely stunned by this unexpected move. Imotar turns to Marin in shock, protesting, "Human, I don't need your help. As long as you saved my siblings, I can handle the rest myself." Ignoring her protests, Marin asks the master how much gold for Imotar as well, while Imotar continues to yell, "Don't ignore me, human," and the master whispers to his guard. Marin chuckles lightly inside his helmet. "Boo-ha-ha. Oh, I'm sorry about that." The master's face contorts into a sinister, mocking grin as he declares, "Unfortunately, Imotar's already been listed for today's auction, so I'll have to decline that deal." The master leans back, gesturing dismissively. "Imotar is already listed, so canceling now is tough. Given the situation, why not just go buy her yourself?" Dahlia gasps in outrage. "What did you just say?" Imotar cries out in horror. "What do you mean by that, Neo? Nobody said I was being put up for auction, Neo." And Dahlia angrily yells, "Quit your lying, human. You think we'd buy that crap?" The master laughs mockingly, saying, "Blah ha ha, an excuse? It's my legitimate right. Buying and selling slaves is entirely up to the owner. The contract says legal trading is my prerogative." Dahlia trembles with pure rage, clenching her fists as she yells, "You dirty scumbag!" Marin lowers his head slightly, remaining calm as he thinks, "How childish. Use your brain." Marin analyzes the situation carefully, thinking, the auction bid is probably just a lie he cooked up. He doesn't want to sell Imitar. She's his property, so he can refuse or auction her as he pleases. Does he want to torture Imitar that badly? Marin looks up and confidently replies, "Got it. We'll just buy her at the auction then," leaving Imitar staring at him in utter astonishment as she gasps, "Human?" Marin stays completely calm and instructs Dahlia to hold back as he has formulated a calculated plan to achieve the optimal outcome for everyone, while Imotar wonders why a human would expend so much effort to secure her safety. Looking closely at Marin's unreadable armored expression, he remains silent, analyzing the situation to minimize risk and ensure the highest probability of success. In a tranquil flashback of children playing safely, a mentor's voice emphasizes that child protection is a vital societal investment. Every child needs a guardian. Young, immature kids need an adult to guide and protect them. The flashback showcases a kind woman holding a child's hand, representing the essential role that healthy, supportive environments play in fostering future human potential. A gentle hand pats a child's head, showing how nurturing guidance is the most effective way to help young minds develop and ultimately thrive. An elderly nun smiles warmly, explaining that safeguarding the vulnerable is a deeply fulfilling duty. Every child born in this world deserves protection. That's your reason for living, isn't it? The young Fox Beastkin children look up with hopeful eyes as the narrator reinforces that Imitar's primary role is to ensure their long-term well-being and safety. The voice reminds Imitar that merely rescuing them from immediate danger is insufficient for their long-term flourishing. Saving your brothers isn't the endgame. Stay by their side. Feed them, guide them. Recognizing the benefit of cooperation, Imotar agrees to trust Marin's strategy. "Fine, I'll give it a shot, Nyo. If you talk big and lose, I won't forgive you, Nyo." Dahlia confirms that aligning with Marin's plan is their best course of action. "I don't love it, but Marin has a plan. Let's just follow his lead." Dahlia bids Imotar farewell as they prepare for the auction. The smug master laughs arrogantly, attempting to demoralize Imotar by asserting that her allies are too powerless to successfully free her. Grabbing Imitar's chin, the master exerts physical control, threatening her that any attempt to escape his bondage is mathematically futile and will only result in more suffering. The master boasts that Imotar's struggles are useless, ordering his subordinates to ready their corrupt market manipulation team to ensure she remains under his control. The scene shifts to the imposing venue of the auction house at night, where vulnerable individuals are treated as mere commodities in a highly exploitative, inefficient system. The auctioneer presents the first lot, a physically healthy human male arrested for violent crimes, initiating the bidding process to allocate labor through forced transaction. Dahlia details her financial calculations to Marin, assessing that their current monetary reserves should comfortably cover the average market price of 8 to 10 gold for a beastman. Dahlia and Marin quietly observe the bidding process, waiting for the optimal moment to deploy their assets for Imitar's rescue. Marin pays close attention as the auctioneer announces a change in category, signaling that the target of their rescue mission is up next. Imitar is brought onto the stage in heavy chains as the auctioneer markets her exceptional physical capabilities, gladiator background, and valuable healing skills to maximize bids. Standing bound on stage, Imotar realizes the master has rigged the auction to prevent her fair release, clenching her fists in frustration. The master watches gleefully from his private box, gloating over the high price her sturdy physique will fetch and expecting her to be sold back into misery. In the audience, the master's agents whisper mockingly, believing that the C-rank adventurers have already depleted their resources and are incapable of bidding. A corrupt merchant hired by the master sneers maliciously, determined to outbid any rescue attempt and preserve the master's cruel ownership. The auctioneer calls for the initial bids, opening the market for Imotar at a starting price of 6 gold and 30 silver. A mysterious hooded bid is placed under number 21, signaling the start of a high-stakes battle to secure Imotar's freedom. The auctioneer recognizes a massive counterbid from number 57, catching Dahlia off guard as the opposition strikes first. The competitor aggressively raises the bid to an astronomical 20 gold, leaving Dahlia horrified by the sudden escalation of the price. Imotar despairs as the auctioneer hypes up the 20 gold bid, knowing that such an inflated cost is far beyond what C-rank adventurers should realistically possess. Dahlia holds her head in panic, pointing out the extreme market manipulation. That's a lie. Average is 8 or 9 gold. Raising it by 10 gold? Marin remains completely unfazed and raises his paddle, as the auctioneer explains that the bidding cap for other races is capped at a lump sum of 50 gold. Marin instantly bids the absolute maximum limit of 50 gold, calmly reminding a shocked Dahlia that he never claimed to be broke, prioritizing Imotar's freedom over hoarding wealth. The master's smug face turns to pure shock and anger as he realizes his attempts to rig the market have been completely bypassed by Marin's massive bid. The auctioneer is rendered speechless by the sudden maximum cap bid of 50 gold, sweating as the balance of the auction is completely disrupted. The skeptical crowd whispers that the modestly dressed adventurers must be bluffing, assuming they cannot possibly afford an immediate lump sum payment of 50 gold. The auctioneer clarifies that the rules demand immediate liquid payment to ensure a valid transaction, warning Marin to only bid what he can pay on the spot. Marin stands up and walks toward the stage, ignoring Dahlia's confused cries as he prepares to settle the transaction directly. The guards and the auctioneer are startled as Marin calmly walks onto the stage, while Imotar looks up in absolute bewilderment. Marin stands tall and imposing before the kneeling Imotar, bringing a literal light of hope and rescue to her dark situation. Imotar stares up in disbelief, completely unable to fathom what Marin is planning as gold coins begin to drop around her. Marin raises his hand and opens a massive glowing storage gate, pouring a literal torrent of glittering gold coins directly onto the stage. Bathed in the golden glow of his immense wealth, Marin calmly asks the auctioneer if this immediate payment is sufficient to conclude the deal. Master is utterly horrified and outraged, clutching the balcony railing as he realizes a mere C-rank adventurer has easily crushed his schemes with 50 gold. A massive, undeniably real pile of gold coins covers the stage, forcing the auctioneer to declare the transaction successfully completed. Imotar gasps in overwhelmed, tearful relief as the gavel falls and her absolute freedom is officially secured. Sold! The scene transitions to the peaceful exterior of a cozy inn at night, representing a safe haven where the rescued party can finally rest. Inside the inn, the young fox children run happily into Imotar's arms, weeping with joy as she cradles them, finally free from the threat of slavery. Dahlia playfully demands to know why Marin hid his massive financial resources, to which Marin humorously points out that she simply never asked. Dahlia smiles warmly, relieved that Marin's high-stakes gamble successfully maximized the group's collective safety and happiness. Imotar softly approaches Marin and bows, expressing her immense, tearful gratitude for his life-saving intervention and the rescue of her family. The young beastkin children peek out and curiously sniff Marin's armor, completely safe and happy under the protection of their heroic guardian. "Meat! I smell meat, Nyo! And smells delicious, Nyo!" shout the eager little fox children as they climb on Marin, who kindly asks, "Hungry? Let's go grab a bite." "Alia, what do we do now, Lin? I've got no clue how to repay Marin, Lin," says Lin anxiously, to which Imotar replies, "Well, don't overthink it. He probably helped because he considers us comrades," Imotar says, suggesting, why not just keep working together as comrades, and then happily declaring, "Yeah, I'll do my best, Nyo." Imotar mentions, that reminds me, I smelled something greasy on Marin, Nyo. Did you eat lunch, Lin?" Catching Lin off guard as he panics, thinking, "Huh? What do you mean? No, wait, don't tell me. Stop." "Don't do it, Glace," yells Lin in a panic as he bursts through the door, finding Marin holding a plate of golden fried food for the excited children. Lin points dramatically and shouts, "Cut it out, Marin Glace," trying to stop him from feeding the mysterious fried food to the kids. Marin turns around calmly with the plate in hand, asking what's the matter. An adorable little fox beastkin child opens their mouth wide and takes a big, crunchy bite of the fried chicken. The children cheer with pure joy, shouting, "Wow, this tastes amazing, Nyo! And this is the best thing I've ever tasted, Nyo!" Lin angrily demands, What are you feeding the kids?" While Imotar looks on asking, What's up, Lin?" Looking at the glistening food, Imotar happily says, fried chicken? That's totally fine, Nyo. They have all their teeth, and more importantly, beastkin have guts of steel, Nyo." Imotar adds confidently, "Plus, they're growing like weeds, so unless it's iron or a monster, they can eat whatever." Suddenly sweating with suspense, Imotar asks, "Wait, Marin, what kind of meat is this fried chicken, Nyo?" And Marin bluntly replies, "Harpy meat." Imotar screams in utter outrage, "What did you do to my adorable little siblings, Nyo?" While the children continue to happily devour the plate of monster meat. Imotar desperately commands them, "Stop, spit it out, that's filthy, Nyo." But one of the kids complains, but it tastes so good." Imotar holds the plate away, asserting, "I said absolutely not, Lin," while the kids beg, "I want more, give me some now." As the delicious, savory steam from the fried harpy meat wafts in front of her face, Imitar's resolve starts to waver. Imitar stares intensely at the plate of crispy, golden meat as her mouth waters at the amazing scent. She formulates a desperate plan. That's it. If I eat this and pass out, the kids will get scared and stop eating it, yo? Trembling with sweat in an ominous atmosphere, Imitar steals her resolve. I'd rather die than eat a gross monster, but this is all for my siblings, yo? Thinking, forget the taste, I'll just drop like I'm poisoned and writhe around, Imitar takes a big bite and is instantly hit by a massive wave of pure culinary shock. Hey, Imitar, what's wrong with you? Asks Lin in concern as Imitar stands completely frozen and trembling from the impact. Lin panics, asking, don't tell me you got poisoned like Marin did, while Imitar can only mutter in disbelief, wah. Tears of joy stream down Imitar's face as she shouts, why does it taste so good, Lin? While her siblings pull at her, whining, no fair hogging it all, big sis, I'm eating too, yo. Savoring the delicious flavor, Imitar wonders, I've never had meat this tender, juicy, and savory in my life, yo. Is this seriously harpy meat, yo? Marin asks with his arms crossed, how is it? Good, right? And Imitar squeaks, meow. Blushing in embarrassment, Imitar runs out crying, ahem, it's not good at all, yo. I won't forget this humiliation, Lin. You'll pay, yo. Looking serious, Lin turns and says, that reminds me, Dahlia. To which Dahlia responds, what now? Lin turns to Marin and declares, until you pay back that 70 gold, hand over 90 of your earnings. Shocking Marin, who gasps, what, 90? You heartless human scum! You want me to starve to death? Yells Lin angrily. But Marin coldly replies, if that's enough to kill you, then just go ahead and die. Lin quickly composes himself and demands, now that that's settled, hand over the reward you promised. Walking into the forest under the full moon, Marin asks, did we have to come out to the woods at night? To which Lin explains, too many eyes in the village. It's hard to do it there. Spirits don't like that kind of atmosphere. Marin then asks, still, how can you grant an attribute blessing? Lin replies, you seem aware that it's not a common feat. First, lose those thick gloves. I need bare skin for the blessing to take hold. Marin slides his gauntlet off as Lin explains, elves conceived within the forest are born with a spirit's blessing. The blessing's attribute determines their innate aptitude. That bonded spirit stays with them for life, like a guardian. By asking that spirit, one can grant a spirit's blessing to another. But even if it's your own spirit, you can only do it once. Usually they exchange blessings with a partner or give it to a child or a lifelong savior. Marin asks, I didn't realize it was that huge. You sure about using it on me? And Lin sincerely replies, Marin Glack, you are truly my savior. You fulfilled my wish to save my kin from human oppression. Twice. Lin channels his magical energy, chanting, answer my call, Sylph. A powerful swirl of green energy begins to gather around them, prompting Marin to think, a sudden gust of wind? Feeling the magical flow against his bare hand, Marin wonders, can't see it, but is this spirit power? Lin explains the dark history. Humans didn't just kidnap elves for their beauty. They used freedom from pain as bait to steal this blessing. Most of my kin endured hell to protect their dignity. But after the treaty freed the slaves, the elf mortality rate spiked. The cause was always suicide, Lin reveals somberly, leaving Marin completely silent. We elves have annoyingly good memories. Even those who returned after the treaty were haunted by trauma and returned to the world tree on their own. Standing before Marin, Lin admits, I despise the humans who caused and ignored our suffering. Enough that I'd kill them all if I could. Lin takes a soft breath under the swirling green light, focusing the power of the wind spirit. Bathed in a brilliant emerald glow, Lin gently reaches out his hand to transfer the blessing. A massive vortex of green wind whips around Marin, who shields his face from the intense gust. A glowing blue system notification appears. Spirit's receptor, Sylph acquires wind attribute affinity. Current aptitude attributes, fire, wind. Marin gazes at his hand in awe, thinking the attribute actually got added? Bestowing his blessing, Lin reminds Marin with a sharp look, so don't get the wrong idea. I still hate humans. Vile, greedy, ugly creatures who do anything for profit. Looking serious in the green glow of the forest, Lin reminds Marin, just because I gave you a blessing doesn't mean I've forgiven you humans. The next day, Hexerim Guild. Inside the guild, Lin spots Marin and welcomes him. Oh, you made it! While Imitar waves energetically, shouting, hey Marin, over here, nya! Emotar happily explains, we finally found a sitter for Emotar's siblings. Took a while to find another beastkin, but we can't leave those kids with a human, yo. Clenching her fist with pure excitement, Imotar declares, "Today's my first day as a free citizen, so I'm pumped, Neo." Imotar proudly slams down a quest sheet, and I picked up a great quest, Lynn. The quest paper displays a Crystal Cave level 20 Mad Dorth subjugation request. Whoa, Mad Dorth? Of all things, a hunt in that muddy swamp? While Imotar points out, but it's safe for a C-rank quest, Nyo. Looking at the mud-like slime monster, Marin greedily wonders, well, it's a monster. Wonder if it tastes good. Lynn looks completely horrified by Marin's culinary curiosity, thinking, that guy, he's not planning on eating mud, is he? As Imotar happily leads the way. I called a carriage to the entrance. Let's go, Nyo. As they walk through the town, Lynn inquires, did you check the other monsters in the Crystal Cave? To which Imotar confidently replies, of course, Nyo, I'll explain in the carriage, Lynn. Imotar mentions her future plans. After this, I need to find a place for me and my siblings, Nyo. Can't keep them in an inn forever, Lynn. But as they approach the archway, Marin stops. Huh? What's this? Looking at the high-class carriage in front of them, Lynn asks, this carriage? Isn't it pricey? Imotar panics instantly. This isn't the one I called, Lynn. I've been free for one day. I can't afford this, Nyo. Armored guards suddenly step out to block their path. One of them calls out, you guys, what's up, Lynn? The luxurious carriage door opens to reveal a smug voice. Haha, so this is where you were. Glad I wasn't too late. Recognizing the voice, Imotar is instantly paralyzed with dread and anger. Wait, that nasty voice is... A wealthy, bowl-cut nobleman steps out with a wicked grin as Imotar gasps in utter disgust, my bastard ex-master? Marin steps forward, shielding the group as he calmly asks, the deal is done, what do you want? The ex-master smugly gestures with his ring-covered hands. Well, I realized how much I missed her after the sale. They say you don't know what you've got till it's gone, right? Smiling with cold, calculating eyes, the ex-master proposes, so I'm here to make a proposal. If you're up for it, how about we trade the slave back? Marin stands perfectly still and silent, a heavy, tense atmosphere hanging over him. Lynn explodes in pure fury. Renegotiation? What kind of sick joke is this? It's already over, and now you pull this crap? Dismissing the elf, the ex-master sneers. Hey, long ears over there, keep it down. Imotar, we go way back, don't glare at me like that, while Imotar growls in silent rage. Gesturing to his guards, the ex-master threatens, these two rear guards are over level 80, so if you get mad and try something, I can't stop them. Lynn panics. They're over level 80, Lim? A close-up of Marin's helmeted face, completely unreadable and steady despite the threat. The ex-master smugly demands, I will give you 100 gold. Sell that slave back to me. But Marin flatly rejects him. No. The ex-master's eye twitches in sheer annoyance at the immediate refusal. The ex-master says dismissively, was that too little? I don't think that slave is worth more than that. Prompting Lynn to shout in anger, watch your filthy mouth, you vile human. The ex-master tries to sweeten the deal, walking closer. How about 150 gold? Marin reiterates, no. The ex-master nervously adds, then 160 gold? Imotar defiantly steps forward with clenched fists. Offer 100 million gold. Marin still won't sell me. Angered by their defiance, the ex-master grits his teeth and snarls, idiots. Do you know the market rate for a beastkin? 200 gold. Even if I give you 200 gold, you still refuse? Imagining a massive pile of gold, Marin mutters, not bad, prompting a panicked Lynn to grab his throat and scream, what are you thinking? Snap out of it. Marin ignores the greed and firmly declares to the ex-master, the papers were destroyed on the spot back then, and I agreed to her freedom. She isn't a slave to begin with. Reaching for the hilt of his sword, Marin warns with absolute authority, disrespect Imotar again and I won't let it slide. The ex-master grits his teeth in deep simmering rage. You pathetic lot, getting high on your little friendship? A manic, twisted grin spreads across the ex-master's face. I thought I'd settle this peacefully with money. But why pass up the fun of breaking that beast? Lynn gasps, so you're gonna take her by force? Before a sudden, crushing punch strikes the ex-master squarely in the face. Imotar lands a devastating punch that sends her ex-master flying backward with blood spraying everywhere, shouting, I've been quiet, but I'm seriously pissed off now, Lynn. A dark red aura swirls around her words as she firmly declares, I ain't your slave anymore, Nyo. Imotar stands surrounded by a dark crimson flame of pure rage, shouting, you brat, watch your tongue with me, Nyo, as the armored guard steps forward to attack. How dare a former slave like you? As the guard attempts to draw his sword, Marin appears out of nowhere. Don't just draw your sword. He grabs the guard's face and slams him violently into the ground, leaving him terrified. What the? He had no presence. When did he? The second guard charges with a spear, shouting, "Ha, you cocky bastard looking for a fight," while Marin calmly reaches down to pick up a stone. Marin effortlessly dodges the spear strike with swift, blinding speed. With a single devastating movement, Marin unleashes a vertical shockwave that shatters the spear and sends the level 80 guard crashing into the stone street. The guard spits out a large spray of blood, completely incapacitated by the overwhelming strike. Stupid, level 80s went down that fast! Marin calmly walks past the unconscious guards, prompting the ex-master to ask, what level are you? Marin casually replies, around level 95. Imotar's and Lin's heads float in utter shock. Level 95? You were that strong, yo? Lin sweats. I knew you were crazy strong, but... Imotar grabs her trembling ex-master by the hair with a wicked grin. More importantly, are we done here yet, Lin? And he begs, wait. The scene cuts to the open sky above the stone courtyard as a loud, agonizing scream echoes. Gwa! Lin sighs. Imotar, we're gonna be late for the carriage. Let's wrap this up. As Imotar happily pummels the ex-master. Got it, Nyo. I'm done here too, Lin. Stretching her arms in immense satisfaction, Imotar cheers, that felt good, Lin. Don't show your mug again, yo. While Lin groans, seriously, you filthy humans. You scum! How dare mere adventurers do this to me? You'll regret this once I tell the Merchant Guild. Hey, rumors about me killing people made finding a party hard lately. Finding a new party is a bigger hassle than crushing one merchant guild. With a devastating stomp, Marin shatters the nobleman's expensive carriage into 1,000,000 pieces. This is a warning. They're weak to fire. Light it up. In that case... Marin, can you seriously eat that, Nyo? I haven't learned a healing skill yet. If you collapse again, I can't save you, Nyo. The last one looked like food, but that thing... Thought it might smell earthy, but there's no scent. Marin takes a tentative bite of the muddy purple mush. This taste? Like chewing gum-flavored clay and spitting it out. Just because it's a monster doesn't mean it's tasty. The texture is trash, too. Guess I'll finish the harpy karage. Marin, I was so busy with my brothers earlier, I didn't get to thank you properly. Thanks for saving our family, Nyo. From now on, I'll save up and pay you back steadily, Nyo. You have mouths to feed. Don't worry about paying me back. But you spent a huge fortune, Lin.
That reminds me, how'd you get that much cash? What? Did you really earn it like that, Lin?
No, it's not like that. I sold a memento from an old comrade. Had my reasons for holding on to it for so long, but I decided it was fine to let it go. Why sell something so important, yo? Even if I pay you back, you might never get that back, yo. It's fine. You guys are my comrades now. If you want to pay me back, just keep partying with me. Really? Is that enough, Lin? Yeah. Glad to have you, leader. Understood, Nyo. No more moping around, Nyo. Starting today, I'll give it my all as leader, Nyo. That reminds me, Dahlia. Heard you gave Marin a blessing, Lin? I heard you were adventurers from the same era, but do you go way back, Lin? Not much different from how long I've known you. Well, if anything, it was the price for a contract. For a human whose face you don't even know, Nyo. Speaking of which, Marin, you always wear that bucket, Nyo. Personal reasons. More importantly, what are you doing? Foo. What's hiding under that helmet, Nyo? Don't pry into things your comrades want to hide just because you're curious, Imotar. If it's just a scar, that's a medal for an adventurer, Lin. Big scar or something, right? But Marin, you're hiding your identity a bit too much. If someone's interested, it means they want to get closer to you. Wouldn't it be okay to open up a little? A sudden, blinding flash of light strikes against Marin's metal helmet. Lin and Imotar gasp in utter shock as a powerful impact shatters the rocky... That is... a crystal tail? The crystal tail chameleon launches a sudden, blindingly fast attack, splattering blood. Die! Is Marion okay, Nyo? I'll check. Lift your head, Marion. No way. There are crystal shards in your eye. Shards? In my eye? My vision's fine. Didn't pierce, just a graze. Fine? You're bleeding out. Your eye is definitely not okay. Take that helmet off right now, Nyao. Forget the wound. We need to check the damage and treat it, Nyao. If your eye is messed up, we're heading to the temple immediately. Dark, terrifying memories of screaming adventurers flash before his eyes. Kya, monster! Help! I don't want to die. In his frantic memory, a desperate adventurer screams, "Run!" as chaos unfolds. Don't touch me. Marin, do you really hate showing your face that much? Marin grips his helmet in absolute panic as traumatic thoughts swirl in his head. Yeah, no, don't look. Stop. Hey, Marin, I know you hate it, but we gotta check the injury properly to treat it, right? Please note that this is not medical advice or a diagnosis. You should always see a healthcare professional or seek care. I'm good. It really just grazed me. I can see fine. But you know my level, don't you? A crystal tail is only level 30. It can't kill me.
I'm seriously fine. Let's get back to the hunt.
Fine, I get it. Just don't push it. If it gets worse, tell us right away, Nya. Sorry for trying to yank your helmet off after you said no. Me too. Sorry, Nya. I'm sorry too, for yelling. All right, Mad Dorth subjugation complete. Good work, everyone. By the way, did something happen? No. You really sure about skipping the temple, Nya? Dahlia suggests calling it a day to rest and monitor Marin's condition. Why don't we call it a day and rest up? We need to monitor Marin's condition anyway. Imitar is ready to head back to the inn when an adventurer suddenly bursts through the guild doors screaming, "Got it, Nya! So we're heading back to the inn? Emergency! We have an emergency!"
What is it? Well?
The messenger breathlessly announces the sudden appearance of a new dungeon. A new dungeon popped up in the forest between Adorama and the capital. It's an open dungeon. The name is... The messenger dramatically reveals the dungeon's name, the Dryad's Flower Garden. Marin mutters in curiosity, Dryad? Dahlia is shocked by the sudden news, while Imotar suggests letting other parties handle it so they can rest. A new dungeon just appeared out of nowhere? There's plenty of other parties. The guild will handle it now. Let's just hurry back to the inn now.
Dahlia and Imotar react in absolute disbelief to Marin's sudden decision. What? Say what? You sure you don't need to rest, Nya?
Marin touches his chin, completely focused on the new dungeon. Yeah, more importantly, there's something on my mind. At the dungeon entrance in the forest, a guild representative summons the gathered adventurers. Parties summoned by the guild, gather up. Briefing for the dungeon raid starts now. Two adventurers whisper about the danger of the dungeon bosses. Hey, hear that? The guy who found the dungeon got wrecked by the boss. He's at the temple now. Heard there are two bosses, two dryads of all things. Marin contemplates the nature of the plant-type monsters, instantly thinking of food. Dryads? Plant-type monsters? Since they're veggies? Salad? Pickles? Imotar and Dahlia are deeply concerned about their reputation if Marin starts eating the bosses. Hey, Dahlia, if Marin starts eating in front of this crowd, our reputation is toast, Nya. If that happens, we pretend we don't know him. Marin clenches his fist, offering to cook a vegetarian meal for Dahlia, much to Dahlia's sheer annoyance. Elves are vegetarians, so I never got to cook for you. But this time, I'll whip something up for you too, Dahlia. I don't need that kind of favor. Unwanted kindness. The briefing continues as the B-rank adventurers confirm the rumor of multiple bosses. As you all know, we've confirmed 2 bosses in this dungeon, so the rumors were true. A golden and white-armored warrior strikes a dramatic pose, introducing himself. However, no need to panic. You have me, Anchorman Derizoric, the first hero. This raid is in the bag. Dahlia explains the concept of heroes to a clueless Marin. Don't tell me you don't know about the heroes. How are you more clueless than me? And I grew up in a forest. Hero is the term for those with the hero provisional title. Dahlia continues explaining the title and the fear surrounding their appearance. We drop the provisional and call them heroes out of respect, but some people are terrified when heroes appear. A dark silhouette of the Demon King rises in Dahlia's explanation, because the very existence of a hero signals the resurrection of the King of Monsters, the Demon King. Dahlia finishes the explanation as an adventurer casts appraisal on the hero, means when the time comes, the heroes will stand against the Demon King. Nations and guilds always give heroes special treatment. Appraisal. The hero's impressive level 75 status window is displayed, leaving Marin intrigued by his many breaker titles. So many breaker titles. First time clears? Dahlia talks about the fate of the other known heroes. I saw a hero once, long ago. What? So you knew... Well, there isn't just one. Of the 5 known heroes, the second was killed. A dark, bloody panel illustrates the tragic demise of the 4th hero, and the 4th was taken out by a monster. Only 3 left. A tense silence falls over Marin as he stares forward without a word. Suddenly, a swarm of massive bee monsters descends upon the adventurers. They're coming back! Hold the line! Keep them off the main unit! Dahlia calmly draws his bow, channeling a powerful wind around his arrow. Dahlia fires a precise shot, striking down the giant bee monsters. Key! Imotar delivers a devastating high-flying punch that shatters a bee monster into pieces. With a swift and powerful draw of his sword, Marin cleanly slices a flying bee monster in half. Marin's blade cuts through the beast with perfect blinding speed. The nearby adventurers are highly impressed by the group's combat prowess. Oh, those guys aren't bad, huh? Yeah. When I heard their name was Havoc, I expected a mess, but Emotar's cat ear twitches with immense satisfaction at the praise. Emotar boasts proudly, while Dahlia remains focused on the battle. Heh, our name is getting famous, nya? That wasn't a compliment. Focus on the fight. Dahlia explains their specific role in the battle strategy. If we stick to the plan, the hero and the B ranks take down the bosses one by one. Our job is to block any monsters trying to interfere. I know, nya? Deep in the forest, the first boss monster is revealed. Monster Dryad level 58, attack power 388, defense 332. The B-rank adventurers struggle in their confrontation with the boss. Damn it, the B-ranks are embarrassing themselves here. The second giant tree boss roars as a B-rank adventurer shouts instructions. Keep it busy until the hero finishes the other one. The hero, Anchorman Derizoric, leaps high into the air with a glowing blade. Should I finish it off? The monstrous Dryad boss roars in fury as the hero closes in. With a flash of golden light, the hero unleashes a flurry of slashes, completely destroying the Dryad boss. The B-rank adventurers cheer in awe at the hero's overwhelming power. Oh, as expected of the hero, taking down a boss like that solo, incredible strength, Sir Hero. The remaining Dryad boss screams in agonizing rage as red lightning crackles around it. Just one left. The B-rank adventurers notice the growing noise but remain confident in the hero. Why is it so loud? Did the monster have friends or something? Who cares? Once the hero joins us, it's over. Suddenly, the ground splits as the remaining Dryad undergoes a terrifying transformation, unleashing colossal roots. Geek! The giant roots grab the B-rank adventurers, throwing them into complete panic. What? What is this? Kya, let go! Marin reacts in shock to the sudden surge of power. Shit, multiple bosses? This reaction? This dungeon, don't tell me. The dark silhouette of the enraged boss pulses with immense red energy. Do we have to kill both bosses at the same time? The boss's true upgraded status is revealed as it evolves into Tyrant, the Dryad, a boss we had to defeat simultaneously. Tyrant, monster, beastmaster of the enraged garden, deeply saddened by the loss of her companion, she releases her remaining vitality. Level 70, attack power 444, defense 444. Dahlia asks what is happening while Marin urgently yells at everyone to flee. Marin, what the hell is that? Don't get close. That boss, its level is... Everyone retreat. The hero, Anchorman Derizoric, gasps in shock as he realizes the boss's level. Its level hits 70. It's out of your league. As the adventurers yell for support, the hero puts on a brave front while secretly smirking in annoyance. We're tied up here too. We need support over there. Seriously, low levels are such a pain. Before the guild issued the order for this new dungeon, I, the genius, already bought all the boss intel from the Thieves Guild, location, numbers, and the strategy to kill two at once. I just lied and fed them partial info. It's those idiots' fault for blindly trusting me without checking. Well then, time to deliver the finisher like a true hero? Just as Anchorman Derizoric prepares to strike, a sudden warning flashes before him. Ha! The lights! He is afflicted by a major curse, preventing him from using skills or weapon arts for 10 minutes. The enraged plant boss Tyrant roars in fury, radiating a terrifying crimson aura that shakes the entire cavern. I didn't hear anything about a curse skill. When did this happen? In a split second, a thick vine wraps around the hero's leg, dragging him into the air. The colossal vine slammed the hero violently into the ground. Struggling to break free, he grunts in pain. These vines, if I just cut them, that's it. Before he can recover, another massive root whips through the air, sending the hero flying helplessly across the chamber. The towering Dryad boss leaps forward and strikes the defenseless hero with a devastating smash. Gwa! The devastating blow connects cleanly, leaving the hero completely incapacitated in a cloud of dust. The surrounding adventurers watch in absolute horror as their champion falls. The hero went down? Retreat immediately! Strategy failed! Observing the chaos, Marin watches the adventurers flee in panic, realizing the dire consequences. If this keeps up, the casualties will be massive. Seeing the giant plant beast continue its rampage, Marin knows he has to step in and put an end to the threat. Drawing his sword as it erupts with a blazing blue light, Marin calmly prepares his attack. Wonder how much I should hold back. With a sudden burst of speed, Marin charges straight toward the massive monster, his glowing sword trailing brilliant blue energy. With a single, decisive motion, Marin unleashes a blinding, powerful slash directly at the colossal Dryad. Incredible force of Marin's strike cleanly slices through the towering plant monster's wooden torso. A brilliant flash of blue light erupts from the severed boss as Marin lands gracefully on the other side. The sheer shockwave of the attack sweeps across the cavern, blowing away dirt, leaves, and debris in a magnificent display of strength. As the dust settles, the massive Dryad boss falls shattered in pieces, completely obliterated by a single hit. An adventurer stares in absolute open-mouthed disbelief. Huh? No way. He dropped a level 70 boss in one hit? Still trying to process the sheer scale of the attack, another adventurer mutters in awe. Area? Looking at the giant logs scattered across the battlefield, Marin sheepishly realizes the aftermath. I didn't mean to make it this dramatic. A system notification appears before Marin. Acquired title, Conqueror of the Dryad's Garden? He wonders, this is the first title heroes usually get, right? First time grabbing a title, but should I be happy about it? Just then, Dahlia and Imotar rush over, calling his name. Marin? Imotar runs up cheerfully. I ditched all the injured humans, Nyo. More importantly, Marin, that was amazing, Lin Yu. Threw away this whole area, Nyo. Dahlia sighs, crossing his arms. Were you trying to show off your level? You made quite a scene. A group of lower-ranked adventurers approaches Marin with deep gratitude. I almost died in the chaos just now, but you saved me. I didn't know a C-rank party had someone this strong. Marin responds humbly. Yes. They continue showering him with praises. You guys caught the hornets too, right? Thanks so much. To one-shot a boss that even the first hero couldn't beat, you're incredible. Marin waves his hands, completely embarrassed by the attention. However, a few nearby adventurers start whispering suspiciously, that guy, is he the rumored one? The one who eats monsters? The one with the Kinslayer title? Are you okay? He's not dangerous, is he? Hearing the ungrateful rumors, Dahlia and Imitar's faces darken. Dahlia steps forward, furious. Is it human custom to repay kindness with ungratefulness? Imitar glares at them, adding, you were running around just fine, but that sharp tongue needs some discipline, Lin. Imitar drives them off with a fierce threat. Get lost before I rip those ears off, Nyo. Dahlia mutters in annoyance. Imitar, bring the salt. What bad luck. Meanwhile, several adventurers gather around the battered hero, trying to help him up. Hero, are you okay? Grab my hand. Can you stand? Need support? Anchorman Deriseric grinds his teeth in sheer humiliation and rage. How the hell did he one-shot the boss? Even with appraisal, I can't see his level. What kind of trick is this? He snatched my Dungeon Conqueror title? A mere C-rank adventurer? The hero glares with intense resentment at Marin's retreating back, swearing vengeance. Marin Glack, I won't forget this. The scene transitions back to the peaceful, sunny exterior of the cozy inn where the party is staying. Sharp snap echoes as a giant, spiky chestnut pod is cracked open, revealing a large seed inside. Sitting comfortably in the kitchen with his helmet still on, Marin carefully extracts chestnuts from the spiky husks. Maron raises his cooking knife with satisfaction. Finally got the insides out. Looking at the pile of fresh chestnuts in a woven basket, he notes, they're raw, but smooth and glossy. Fist-sized grains. Looks like a wild variety. Dahlia and Imotar watch with deep sweat drops of concern as Marin happily plucks chestnuts directly from a living ent monster. Chestnuts harvested from an ent? Wonder how they taste. Marin begins detailing the recipe. First, peel the hard outer shell, then peel the thin inner skin by hand. Prep complete. Parboil them in hot water until half-cooked. Take them out early so they don't get mushy. While they boil, mix water and sugar in another pot. Marin carefully measures and pours sugar into the pot. He stirs the mixture over the stove, boil it down on high heat to make syrup. Looks about right. Once the chestnuts are cooked, dump them in the syrup. Simmer and coat them evenly, spooning the syrup over, and when the chestnuts are perfectly glazed, Marin slides the lid over the pot. When they look good, close the lid. The sauce soaks in as it cools, so I have to let them chill thoroughly. Wait for the chestnuts to cool slowly in the pot. Repeat this 3 times, and finally, outside the window, the sun sets and night falls. Ent Maron Glack is complete. A beautiful, shining plate of 5 giant golden glazed chestnuts is presented under a decorative ribbon. Marin admires his creation. This glossy sugar coating? I made it, but I'm satisfied. And this size, filling the mouth in one bite? The best. Now then, what does a monster's fruit taste like? He lifts one up on a fork and opens his visor. Taking a bite, Marin's eyes widen in pure astonishment behind his visor. What is this? He describes the incredible flavor and culinary bliss. The syrup layers sealed in the chestnut sweetness, creating a deep, rich flavor. The chestnut absorbed the syrup and simmered until soft and chewy. It's an emotional taste, like a high-end pav de chocolat. Deciding to share his delicious creation, Marin looks out the window into the quiet night. I can't eat something this good alone. Dahlia walks into the kitchen in his nightclothes, rubbing his eyes in confusion as Marin presents him with the plate of sweet treats. I wondered what the noise was in the middle of the night. Cooking monsters again? Dahlia rubs his temple in confusion and says, it's a nut, so even vegetarians can eat it, right? Marin, holding the plate of treats, responds, I told you, it's not about being vegetarian. Dahlia sighs, fine, what about Imotar? Dahlia explains, well, Imotar doesn't really like sweets. Plus, her siblings are asleep, so I can't give them any, while Imotar waves dismissively in the background. Marin holds out a giant golden glazed chestnut that sparkles brilliantly. Are you really not going to eat it? Dahlia looks at it with deep hesitation, muttering, ugh. Dahlia reluctantly accepts the treat, saying, damn it, fine, I'll eat it. Since you made it at midnight and begged with your stomach, I'll try it just once. Dahlia opens his mouth and takes a large bite of the sweet, glossy glazed chestnut. Dahlia's eye widens in absolute shock. He's completely blown away by the incredible flavor. This is a monster's fruit. It's so sweet and soft, and this rich, aromatic syrup matches the chewy texture perfectly. How can a monster taste like this? Marin asks, how is it? Good? A heavily blushing Dahlia gets flustered and barks back, I just wasn't used to the sweetness, you human bastard. Dahlia looks down at the plate containing 4 golden chestnuts and murmurs, truly, packed with the rich taste of autumn. What's this dish called? Marin replies, Marin glacé? Dahlia questions, who names a snack after themselves? Marin calmly answers, if anything, I was named after it. By the way, Dahlia, seems you like sweets? Dahlia defensively explains, got a problem? Master taught me to suppress my appetite. Even strawberries, the only sweet thing in my forest, were limited. Marin notes, must have been strict. Dahlia looks reminiscent, saying, well, she was just a very serious person. She's still the captain of the guard in my hometown forest, as he remembers a silhouette of his master. Dahlia continues, Master Rose is... Suddenly, Marin slams his hand onto Dahlia's wrist with a loud crash, startling him. Dahlia looks at him in confusion. Marin? Marin stares back intensely through his visor and mutters, pink hair. Marin continues listing details. Spear user, water attribute. Dahlia is utterly stunned. What? How do you know that? Marin interrupts. Dahlia. Marin looks at Dahlia with determination. Can we head to your forest tomorrow? Next day, Marin, clad in his traveling gear and sword, takes a step forward into the lush green forest. As he walks, Marin recalls, she was best friends with a wizard from my old party. In a quiet reflection, Marin thinks back. We took a quest with an elf once. I remember her. She used a spear. Weird for an elf. To think she's Dahlia's master. Marin continues down the path, worrying to himself. I asked Dahlia a bunch of times if it was really her, but what if she doesn't remember me? Suddenly, Marin stops in his tracks as he catches sight of someone ahead. A pink-haired elf with a spear stands before a massive tree, turning her head to notice Marin. The elf looks at Marin and remarks, a human in a helmet, tall and slender, like an elf. Heard you were looking for me? She stands tall, speaking with authority. State your name, human. Marin pauses before answering. Marin? No, Charlotte. The elf gasps in shock as Marin adds, long time no see, Rose. A knowing, mischievous smirk plays across Rose's face. Rose bursts out into hearty laughter. Ha ha, Charlotte, haven't heard that name in ages. Rose waves her hand warmly. You doing okay? How long has it been? Marin feels a wave of relief, thinking, thank God she remembers. Relieved, Marin steps forward. Glad to see you're Suddenly, Rose slices through the air and thrusts her spear directly at Marin's throat, demanding, all right, spill it. Who are you, really? Marin freezes in shock. Rose glares at him with hostility and asks, why impersonate an old friend to scam me? Rose explains, Charlotte, yeah, there was a guy named that, but that was 100 years ago. No way a human like him is still kicking. Marin raises his hands in peace. Rose narrows her green eyes suspiciously. If you're really Charlotte, tell me what I used to call him. Marin remains silent under the spear point, recalling his memories of the past. In Marin's flashback from 100 years ago, a young wizard runs after a younger Charlotte in knight armor, calling out, do you really have no intention of joining us, Mr. Charlotte? The wizard continues, about the party invite, a shielder as skilled as you is rare. As Charlotte stands beside a defeated monster, Charlotte walks away, replying, not interested, while the wizard desperately begs, don't be like that, just come with us once. Wait up. Wizard tries to persuade him, saying, if you come with us, you can meet other races. Still no? Charlotte ignores him until the wizard adds, "Is there an elf?" The wizard cheerfully points to Rose, saying, "Not in the party, but she's my best friend. Mr. Charlotte, you wanted to meet non-humans, right?" Rose grumbles, "Cheeky wizard." The wizard introduces them. "Rose, this is the Shielder, Mr. Charlotte." Charlotte observes, "Everyone outside is obsessed with elves, huh?" While Rose sighs, "Unbelievable." They share a firm handshake as Rose introduces herself. "I'm Rose," he responds. "I am Charlotte." Rose grumbles, "Charlotte. Too long, too fancy, hard to say." Rose's eyes widen in shock as Marin speaks the answer in the present. "Char. My name was too long, so you called me Char." Rose stares at Marin in disbelief, wondering, is he really Charlotte? Build and voice are the same, but he doesn't look like an old geezer at all. Marin continues, "I was about 15 when we met, right?" Marin lists more details from their past, making Rose incredibly flustered. "And your wizard best friend was the Magic Tower's youngest exec. He loved Madeleines, but he couldn't stomach the ones you baked. And you had a mountain of fan letters from mercenaries." Overwhelmed and deeply embarrassed by the detailed memories, Rose lowers her spear and blushes. "That's enough." Rose turns her head, glancing away awkwardly as she tries to hide her blushing face. Rose thinks to herself, that innocent tone, contrasting his quiet vibe, he's definitely Char. But how? Accepting the truth, Rose says with a sigh, "I get it. You really are Char." Rose turns around and tells him, "Follow me. Need to check something." Inside her cozy log cabin, Rose pours some tea and says, "Sorry, I've got nothing to serve. Just a place to crash, really." Marin sits at the table, replying, "I don't mind." Marin looks out at Rose's log cabin surrounded by trees and asks, "You live alone out here?" Rose replies, "Yeah, easier to guard the forest entrance." Marin looks at Rose and thinks, still, 100 years and she hasn't aged a day. Guess that's an elf for you. Rose puts her cup down and asks, "By the way, why keep the helmet on?" Marin, with his visor down, answers quietly, "I have my reasons." Rose reaches out and grabs Marin's hand, saying, "Then show me your hand." Inspecting Marin's hand closely, Rose notes, "Strange, you haven't aged a bit. While I lived through the years, your time stood still." Marin listens silently as Rose asks, "Is Carlos still alive and young like you?" Rose looks down with a somber expression as Marin reveals, "Not just Carlos. I'm the only survivor." Sitting at the table opposite Marin, Rose says, "I see. Well, it has been 100 years. No way humans would still be alive." Rose looks down sadly and admits, "Honestly, I assumed you were all dead." Rose recalls her past, standing in her armor near an elven settlement. "After my short stint as an adventurer, I came back here. My only news came from letters with Carlos." As Marin listens, Rose continues, "But eventually the reply stopped. Thought he was busy. Didn't hear anything for 20 years. An elven crest is displayed as Rose explains, "Your party, Romantia, vanished into thin air. Mercenaries going missing wasn't rare back then, but silhouettes of the skilled party members are shown as Rose recounts. For a skilled party like yours to vanish? That was big news. I couldn't believe it. I waited for news, but..." Rose sits at the table, clasping her hands together. Too much time passed to keep hoping. Rose looks up at Marin and says, "So honestly, I'm more shocked than happy. Char, how have you lived 100 years without aging?" Marin looks down in silence before speaking. "Rose..." Marin begins to explain, "When we formed our party for the last time, remember that rare item I got? From the Spider Queen, Regina Arania?" A glowing purple magic book with a spider crest appears as Marin recalls the Arachnophobia skill book. Rose nods, saying, "Of course, I was the only appraiser. I identified it for you." Marin clenches his fist tightly and says, "It's all because of that. The reason I'm alive." Marin bows his head in deep regret and adds, "And the reason I let my comrades die." In Marin's flashback from 100 years ago, a group of terrifying mutated goblins charges forward, roaring, "Krah!" The goblins attack aggressively as the party's archer and mage react in shock. "We came for goblins, so what the hell are those?" The mage replies, "I don't know, just prep your magic, fast." A blonde shield bearer swings her sword to defend the party, shouting, "Stay calm, we can handle these guys. Charlotte, hold the front line." Charlotte braces his shield against the onslaught of mutated goblins as they screech, "Krah!" The archer draws her bow, unleashing a glowing magical arrow. "Got it, just hold out. Grow rain." A volley of glowing magical arrows rains down from the sky, piercing and taking down the mutated goblins. The shield bearer calls out to the mage Carlos, while Carlos prepares a flame spell, shouting, "Ready on my end." Carlos unleashes a massive, explosive flame spell, chanting, "Mora Signita." A massive wall of fire consumes the remaining goblins as they scream in agony. As smoke rises from the charred goblin corpses, the shield-bearer asks, "Charlotte, ever seen goblins like these?" Charlotte replies, "Never." The archer grumbles angrily, "That damn client, he said just goblins, but this place is crawling with monsters." The mage tries to reassure her, saying, "We'll demand hazard pay later. Stay positive." Carlos warns them seriously, "This isn't a joke. These aren't normal goblins. The intel was wrong. We need to pull back. Let's—" A mysterious cloaked figure suddenly appears in the clearing, saying, "How cruel. I spent ages making those, and you broke them so heartlessly." The archer steps forward to demand answers, but Charlotte holds out his arm to stop her, warning Charlotte. The archer asks, "Wait, who are you? This area is restricted for a subjugation request." The party instantly takes a defensive formation, with Charlotte crouched in front, shield raised. Shield-bearer whispers to her party, "Something's off about her. Be ready." The shield-bearer addresses the figure with authority. "We're official adventurers on a request. This forest is off limits. Identify yourself." Beneath the hood, a single red eye glows as the mysterious figure speaks. "Ah, humans arrived while I was away? My sense of time differs from yours, so I didn't notice. Anyway, it upsets me when you trash the test subjects I made with such care." The archer asks in shock, "Test subjects? You mean these freaks are—" While Carlos mutters in dread, "Shit, this is out of our league." The figure pulls back their hood with a clawed hand, saying, "I was in the middle of a sacred ritual." The hood falls back to reveal a reptilian dragon-like face with glowing red eyes. "How dare mere humans interrupt me?" Charlotte holds up his shield, sweating in worry as he thinks, "Was there a race like that? Something's wrong." An appraisal window appears over the creature, showing unknown levels and identifying its race as a dragon. Carlos gasps in absolute horror. "What? A dragon?" A sudden, powerful shockwave blasts Charlotte backward, cracking his shield under the immense pressure. The blonde shield-bearer watches in utter shock as a massive explosion of dust and debris erupts. Charlotte is violently slammed back into a tree, coughing up blood as his comrades scream out, "Charlotte! Charlotte!" The dragon creature extends a clawed hand with a malicious grin, declaring, "Peeking without permission. How rude. Perfect. I'll use you all as special sacrifices for my ritual." Shield-bearer readies her weapon and shield, rallying her team. "Everyone, battle stations. Damien, heal Charlotte." The dragon entity smiles mockingly, saying, "Oh my, I was rude because I was in a rush. Even bugs have the right to know who squashed them." The dragon proudly announces its identity. "I am the gold dragon, the golden dragon of wisdom, the pinnacle of draconic intellect." The wizard and archer panic in disbelief at the sudden appearance of the beast, with Carlos shouting, "Dragon?" while urging the others to focus. "Focus, keep your eyes on her, she's unpredictable." Realizing the sheer power of their opponent, Carlos breaks out in a cold sweat. "She took out Charlotte in one hit. She's the real deal. We have to run. I'll blind her with magic first." Before Carlos can even cast his spell, the dragon suddenly appears behind him, impaling him through the chest with a deadly clawed hand. Using magic as a human? Cheeky. As his comrades scream in horror, Carlos. Enraged and desperate, the archer draws her bow back fully, aiming a shot at the monster. "You monster!" In a flash, the dragon ruthlessly slashes through the archer, leaving her companion in complete shock as blood splatters across the battlefield. I couldn't see or hear it. Standing over the defeated adventurers, the dragon's overwhelming aura looms as a grim realization sinks in. So this is a dragon. As the party lies defeated, despair washes over them. "We're dead meat. What do we do?" But a small sliver of hope remains. Luckily, they're barely hanging on. Demian's wide-area heal can save everyone. Quietly gathering his holy magic, Demian prepares to cast his spell. "But I need to buy time. I have to draw her aggro." To distract the dragon, the blonde shield-bearer demands answers, shouting, "What the hell is a dragon doing in a forest like this? What exactly do you want?" The dragon's reptilian red eye glows with terrifying intensity as it states its dark goal. "I want but one thing, the resurrection of the Demon King." Gazing down with a clawed hand outstretched, the dragon continues. "As the gold dragon, possessor of all wisdom, I had a revelation." The dragon raises its arms high, screaming its twisted ideology. "To truly purify this world, the plague known as humanity must be wiped out." A dark silhouette of the menacing Demon King looms as the dragon explains, "One who dedicated his life to fighting humanity, Lord Demon King. I was preparing a sacred ritual for his resurrection, to grant his wish for revenge." The dragon holds its face, blushing and squirming with obsession. "But in the midst of it all, that strong man stole my heart. When the Demon King returns, I shall be his queen. With a mad, glowing eye, the creature's obsession deepens. Yes, I am the gold dragon who fell for the Demon King. Spreading its arms wide, the dragon laughs hysterically under the sky. From now on, I am the love-crazed mad dragon Salvatore.
Damien sweats, noting how crazy the dragon is while finishing his preparation. She's totally lost it, but her rambling bought us time. Wide area healing prep is almost done. Once it pops, I'm grabbing everyone and running.
The dragon takes a step forward, completely dismissing them. I'm busy preparing for that glorious day. I don't have time to play with trash like you. Suddenly, a massive wooden spike erupts from the ground, brutally impaling Demian. Ah! Demian hangs lifeless on the spike as the dragon mockingly laughs in the background, leaving the shield-bearer screaming in grief, "Demian!" While the dragon sneers, "Did you really think I wouldn't notice such a cheap trick?" Desperate and crying out, the blonde shield-bearer lunges at the dragon with a final desperate strike. Gwa! With a simple gesture of its hand, the dragon unleashes a devastating beam of purple magical pressure that violently slams the shield-bearer into the dirt. Hovering in the air with dark wings and purple magic swirling around, the dragon laughs triumphantly over the fallen party. Ha ha! You died just like bugs! Maybe I'll tear off your limbs and use you as new test subjects. Lying bleeding on the ground, Charlotte despairs under the heavy helmet. We can't win a head-on fight against that thing. We're gonna get wiped out. Clenching a fist on the grass, Charlotte recalls the Spider Queen's magic book. But if I use that skill, I might be able to buy us an opening. A single red eye glows behind Charlotte's blood-stained visor as the forbidden skill is invoked, Arachnophobia. A glowing blue system interface appears to confirm the skill's use. Assimilation debuff is activating. A second system message appears to show a sudden shift. Assimilation debuff has been dispelled, while Charlotte looks down in shock at a severed, bleeding arm on the ground. Huh? Looking at the severed limb amidst spiderwebs, Charlotte gasps in shock. What? Getting up, Charlotte notices a transformation as long white hair falls over their shoulders. What just happened? Shrouded in darkness, Charlotte's face is obscured except for glowing, empty white eyes. To their horror, Charlotte looks down to find their lower body transformed into a massive, monstrous spider, standing amidst the web-wrapped remains of their dead comrades. What?